So I guess that means we're doing this. Hello, everyone. Oh, okay. Welcome to LiveRead LA number 16, I think. Our biggest one yet. So thank you all for coming. How many of you have been here before? Who's been before? Oh, look at that. See? Welcome. We are here tonight to celebrate a few things. One, 2 writers who were selected, and we're going to hear their words shortly. 2, our insider, our special insider, Mr. Jason Alexander. Jason, thank you so much for coming. We are beyond grateful, and please stay for photos at the end. So for those who haven't been here before, this is what we do. This is what you can expect. Once I stop talking, we're going to bring actors on, and the actors are going to read the first 30 pages of a screenplay called The Mushroom King by Steve Treblecock, who's here. Thank you, Steve. Well done. Now, Steve has flown in from Nebraska for this. So can we clap again properly now? Yay, Steve. And then once we've finished that, the actors leave the stage, and then Jason and me and Steve will come onto the stage, and Jason and I will give some feedback on what we just heard, and then I'll turn it over to you guys to give some feedback. So then what happens is once we do the first one, then we'll do the second one, and then Jason and I will have a quick chat, and we'll take some questions from you guys as well, and then we'll be out of here. So thank you again. Actors, let's do Steve's script. Oh, wait. I forgot to we haven't clapped for Sabrina, the other winner. So Sabrina, congratulations. So I have to say, up here I can see almost nothing because of the way the lights are, except for a couple of spotlights, and one of the spotlights is right on Sabrina. So yeah. And her script is in quite a different. We'll get there. First, let's do Steve's script.
The Mushroom King, written by Steve Treblecock. Fade in. Exterior, tall chain link fence, day. A military Humvee sits in the gravel driveway just outside the fence perimeter. High desert sun causes mirage waves in the background. A soldier, his back to us and his M16 shouldered, unlocks the chain that secures the gate to a missile silo.
Talks abruptly ended today with the delegation leaving not only the table but the UN building. NATO participants report that the impasse has halted negotiations on the new limited disarming treaty, and the process does not appear to have any chance of resuming.
Exterior, countryside rural, no buildings, day. A camouflaged military vehicle and trailer are seen carrying a large missile with an undetermined nation's flag painted on it. The vehicle stops, stanchions are deployed, and the missiles begin to be raised into position.
The president, in a statement late today, stated his resolve in finding a diplomatic conclusion to the disarmament issue, but he held fast in his stance that no concessions of territory nor the lifting of sanctions will be given.
Interior, nuclear submarine later. The submarine captain opens his cabin door and is presented with a message. The sailor delivering it takes one step backwards and salutes while standing at attention. The captain reads the communique, then looks back to the sailor with wide eyes.
At the same time, the delegation prepared to board the flight. An envoy delivered a message directly to the Secretary of State declaring that failure to remove the blockade from their waters would result in the declaration of war.
Interior truck cab later that day. Speeding down the blacktop, Trey, 34, uniformed public servant, stares out the windshield. A fiery tail propels the Minuteman missile from its silo a mile ahead and to the left. He watches it ascend until it disappears because of the cab roof.
No.
Through the windshield, several miles ahead, he sees the tail of another missile following the first one up. Shakes his head.
Shit.
Exterior, small brick municipal building. Earlier that day, the new model white flatbed pickup backs into a parking space. Trey emerges in a freshly pressed uniform. The Alejo County Sheriff's Department logo blends from the sun on the door and matches the emblem on the brick wall. Zeke, 4, blue heeler cattle dog, loyal to a fault, approaches the edge of the bed, and Trey reaches up with both hands, scratching him behind the ears while admiring the sunrise.
You wait out here, boy. I'll only be a minute.
Interior Sheriff's Office continuous. Trey stops at the counter, picks up a cup of steaming coffee already waiting for him, and tips his hat to the dispatcher, Margaret, librarian-style chain glasses.
Morning, Margaret. Thanks for the coffee. What travesties are assaulting the good citizens of Cala, New Mexico this fine day?
Good morning, Trey. You're welcome. And just the usual.
Margaret lifts a steno tablet and pencil and starts checking items off as she dictates.
Old Lady Martin says some kids tore through her garden last night and upset her wheelbarrow full of pumpkins. But after I asked her to identify the kids, she decided maybe her pet heifer had got loose and done it.
Trey leans against the counter and snickers as he brings the cup up for another sip.
Miles Applegate called to complain that he put his trash out to the curb, but the truck never came yesterday. I reminded him that trash day is Thursday, not Tuesday. He also said he misplaced his teeth again and wondered if we could help him look for them.
Trey closes his eyes and shakes his head.
Oh, and Becky from the donut shop called a few minutes ago. She said 3 lowlifes rolled into the pool hall earlier and gave her the heebie-jeebies. She thought maybe we should go check on Eli, just in case.
Margaret looks over the top of her glasses at Trey.
Oh, no, that's one I might better go have a peek at. I'll be back in a bit.
Leaving his cup on the counter, he winks at her and goes out the door. Exterior, Eli's gas, billiards, and sundry store, moments later. High up on the weathered wood, a faded sign, food and beer here, beckons all comers. Trey closes the door of his truck and takes note of a pickup and 2 motorcycles parked on the other side of the lot. He directs Zeke.
Watch him.
The dog hops off to the boardwalk and lays down facing the vehicles. Interior pool hall continuous. Eli, late 60s, dirty coveralls, sweat-altered baseball hat, sparse gray beard bristles, sits on a stool behind the counter. 3 men sit in a booth across the room, partially obscured by a pool table and dim lighting. A fishing show plays on the TV screen.
Morning, Deputy.
How's the world treating you today, Eli?
Well, I'm still upright and taking air. I suppose that's all a body can ask for.
Eli leans forward to look around Trey at the men in the booth.
What can I do for you, son?
I just thought I'd stop in and see how you were. Say, Dad's expecting a package, radio parts, I think. Did UPS deliver yet?
Toby Pardue, 34, unshaven, local bully, shares the booth with 2 tattooed bikers and a half-empty pitcher of beer.
This old man is crazier than a pet coon. Always going on about the end of times and such. He spent most of last year burying a perfectly good Quonset over at the deputy's place.
He strains his neck to look over the bikers at Trey. Trying to impress his companions, he gets boisterous.
Ain't that right, deputy? You all are about set for anything that might come along out there, aren't you?
Snickers are heard from all at the booth. He waves his cronies in closer and whispers.
Gotta say, I wouldn't mind spending some time underground with that pretty blonde wife of his.
That bunch there is trouble looking for a place to happen. Tell your pa no packages today, maybe Thursday, but tell him I'll leave word up at the diner if anything shows up.
All right, then. You want me to clear out the riffraff?
Nah, I've been dealing with ne'er-do-wells like that for nigh on 70 years. Reckon I'll be fine. Can't be picky about who your customers are when you decide to open a pool hall.
Just the same, I don't want to be worrying about you all day, being out here alone. If you don't feel right about them boys, I can ask them to move on.
Yeah.
That damn Toby never got over being the fat kid in school. I think he's still overcompensating.
He's still the fat kid. Just running with the wrong crowd now.
Trey removes his white Stetson and wipes the sweat off his forehead with the back of his wrist.
Yeah, sometimes I feel bad for him. His mom running off, leaving him to grow up with just this drunk old man.
Yeah, it'd be a cold day in hell, but
The TV screen beside Eli flicks to the emergency broadcast system. An annoying tone ensues.
what the hell? Right in the middle of my show.
They look at each other for a few seconds as the EBS continues. Trey grabs the radio at his hip and brings it up.
Well, maybe I better call in. Dots in the base, over.
Silence.
Dots in the base. Margaret, this is Trey. Come in, over.
Silence, followed by brief static.
Trey, this is base. I think you better get back here pronto. Over.
What's up, Mark?
Interrupted as all 5 cell phones in the bar go off at the same time. Eli flinches, then reaches for his phone on the counter. The bikers and Toby reach for theirs.
It's the Amber Alert system out of Santa Rosa. It's no lost kid.
Trey reads out loud.
Alert from Homeland Security. All citizens are urged to shelter in place and take all precautions related to nuclear radiation.
From across the room, Toby stands up from the booth.
What the hell does that mean? Hey, deputy! What the hell is going on?
I'm not sure, boys. Hold on a second while I check in.
Trey brings the radio back up.
Margaret, this is Trey. What are you hearing there, over?
Yeah, Trey. They're saying someone has launched missiles towards the U.S. I think you better get back over here. Wait. Another message is coming through from the Stadies.
Everyone in the pool hall stares in silence at Trey's radio.
Oh, Trey. They're saying they have confirmation that the missiles are nuclear. Oh, God, Trey. Don't come back here. You need to get home to Brittany and Kimber right now. I'm leaving. Aunt Sally is 90 and all alone in that little house. I have to get to her. Over.
All right, Margaret, you go on then. Over.
Nothing but static is heard when Trey releases the radio button. He pushes the button down again.
Margaret, are you there? Over.
He releases the button again, and nothing but static is heard. Trey turns the radio off and focuses back on Eli.
Old man, you better be finding a hole to hide in.
Nah, I'll be fine right here.
Suit yourself. Above ground is not the place to be, though.
I reckon I've seen enough of the world from right here on this stool. Don't see no reason to leave now, and nowhere's to go anyways.
Toby comes running across the floor, dodging pool tables. He's followed by the bikers, who don't seem too alarmed.
What about us, deputy?
Well, you men better find a place to shelter. Underground would be best.
Well, if there's really nukes coming, then what do we do? Where do we go? You're the law. You gotta help us.
Trey considers for a few seconds, then gives the only advice he has.
Try the courthouse in town. There's a basement under it. I gotta go, fellas.
Trey holsters the radio, starts for the door.
Wait, deputy, you got supplies in a bunker. You gotta take us with you.
I'm sorry, boys. There's no room for anyone but family there. You'll have to take shelter here in town.
He turns and hits the door with force as he passes through. Exterior, Eli's gas, billiards, and sundry store continuous.
Shit. Zeke, come on.
The dog jumps up from napping in the sun and leaps to the back of the flatbed. The pickup starts and spins gravel up into the wheel wells as Trey heads out of the parking lot. He looks in the mirror to make sure Zeke is still with him.
Hold on, buddy. We'll be home soon. Just gotta make one stop first.
Exterior, Main Street, Calor, New Mexico. He reaches the business district of Calor, New Mexico, a two-lane main street containing a diner, gas station, bank, drugstore, courthouse, church, and a second-hand store. No stoplights, no hospital, no clinic. Trey swings onto this main drag.
Okay, first things first. Get her pills before anything else goes wrong. We won't be able to get more if we're stuck on the ground. Then what next?
He pounds the steering wheel with both hands. Come on, Trey. You've run this 100 times in your head. He pulls open the middle console, removes a pint bottle of brown liquid that's already partially empty.
Dad should already be on his way to the house. I might have to go to get Shelly if that damn truck won't start.
Knowing he's safe behind tinted side windows, he unscrews the cap and swallows a huge mouthful. Wiping his mouth with his sleeve, he replaces the bottle in the console.
Elise, damn it! Sister, you better be listening to the scanner and already be on the road. We're gonna need you here.
Interior Calumet home moments later. Elise Calumet, 28, sports bra, gym shorts, and earbuds, is in the middle of a workout on her treadmill when she sees the government warning come over her phone. Pulling her earbuds out, she stops the machine and slows her pace as it winds down in speed.
What the hell?
She picks up the phone and reads the warning again before hopping off the still-moving track and running down the hall towards her son's room.
Justin, honey, come quick.
Justin Calumet, 8, comes out of his bedroom, both hands full of plastic building blocks.
What is it, Mom?
Honey, do you remember the emergency drills we did last summer?
His expression and smile immediately drop, as do both hands full of plastic.
Do I have to practice again right now?
Pulling her long hair over her shoulder and beginning to braid it, she chooses her words carefully.
Yes, right now. Please get the go bag from your closet. We're going to get ready and take a trip to see your grandpa. I need you to do it now, Justin. Put it on the kitchen table like we practiced. And this time I need you to fill all 3 water bladders at the kitchen sink.
Yes, ma'am. But Dad's not here. That's his job.
I'm going to call him right now, but I need you to be a grown-up and do it for him this time, okay?
Justin moves off sullenly. Elise turns and moves down the hall, still pulling the braid tight. She goes into her bedroom, switches out her shorts for some jeans, and retrieves a handgun from beside her bed. Opening the next drawer down, she pulls out a concealed carry holster and slips both in place behind her back. Interior Trey's truck cab later. His pickup rounds the corner, tires squeal slightly as he pulls up to the Calor drugstore. 3 other vehicles are already parked there. Exiting the truck, he directs Zeke.
Stay.
Interior Color drugstore moments later. The opening of the door knocks a tiny suspended bell as he enters. Several customers are standing at the pharmacist's counter speaking to her, and obviously agitated. He approaches the group and tries to portray calm. A farmer, customer 1, turns to him.
Morning, Patty. Is there a problem here?
Damn right there's a problem, Trey. What do you know about this warning that came over the phones a little bit ago?
Look, I know just as much as you do, Lou. We're all supposed to get to cover.
What's that supposed to mean?
It means just what it said. Shelter in a place. I don't know, Lou. I'm headed home myself as soon as I can get Bridget's pills.
A young mother, customer 2, stands clenching her toddler to her chest, begins to panic.
We live in a trailer house. It doesn't even have a basement, Deputy. What are we supposed to do?
I'm sending everyone that's looking for shelter over to the courthouse. There's an old fallout shelter under it. The church next door to it has a basement too.
The farmer's son, 9, looks to his father.
Are we gonna die, Dad?
Trey interjects before the farmer can answer. He takes a knee in front of the boy.
No. Hey, you and your dad just need to take shelter for a while, that's all.
What about the bombs?
We don't even know that there are any bombs yet, Tim. And they won't fall around here anyway. There's no target close by. What we need to watch for is what comes after. The radiation.
You can't hide from radiation, Trey.
Another woman in the group, wearing a smock with the drugstore label on it, gasps in terror, bringing a hand up to cover her mouth.
Now listen, all of you.
Trying to keep his voice calm to avert the panic.
If there are bombs, they would most likely be headed towards the coast, big cities, maybe military bases, but those are all west of us.
Trey points towards the front of the store.
The problem is, if there are nuclear explosions, the radioactive particles could be carried here on the winds. But we would have a little bit of time to gather up supplies and find a place to shelter. Underground is best. Don't go out in the ash while it's falling.
The young mother now has tears down her cheeks and covers the baby's head with her hand.
How long do we have to stay underground? We have pets and farm animals.
They say at least 2 weeks until the fallout radiation is low enough to go out. I'd suggest you leave the animals with extra food and water, then take care of your daughter first.
Trey scans the group. They all stand frozen in thought.
You're all wasting valuable time. We don't know when the fallout might start. You need to go prepare now.
The group looks at each other and moves towards the doorway, including the store clerk. The pharmacist grabs her purse and starts to come from behind the counter.
Now hold on, Patty. I need a refill on Bridget's prescription.
Oh, that's right. What's her birth date again, Trey?
She puts her purse back down and starts typing into her computer as he recites. There is a pause as the program searches.
Oh, I'm sorry, Trey. I won't be able to refill her meds today.
What's the problem?
Well, it says here that she refilled it 3 days ago herself, and Mel no. The insurance won't let the narcotics be dispensed until that entire prescription has been taken as labeled.
Sorry, I don't know. I didn't know she'd done that. She didn't say anything about even being in Menlo this week. Are you sure I can't get just a few extras? You know, with the bombs and being stuck underground and all.
Trey, you know I could get in trouble for that. Not to mention losing my license and my job.
Patty, do you really think there will even be a job if this goes down like I think it will?
Wait here.
She disappears behind shelving units, then returns and hands Trey a plastic bag with many tiny white pills inside.
I owe you one, Patty. Now get yourself out of here and below ground.
She nods. Trey turns and starts jogging towards the front door. Interior truck cab moments later outside of town. The tires screech as he jerks the wheel to correct his path on the asphalt. He just finished watching the second missile disappear above the cab with his head turned sideways and almost lying on the dashboard. Trey looks into the rearview mirror to check on Zeke. The dog is frozen up against the cab window. His fur is violently tousled by the wind. He passes the first missile silo. Concrete buttresses covering the silo are open. Expended rocket fuel still billows up out of the ground.
Idiots. Damn it.
He pulls out his cell phone and hits a few buttons. All circuits are busy, shows on the screen.
Brittany, you'd better be at home.
Throwing the cell up on the dash, he reaches forward and clicks the dashboard radio on. At first, only static is heard as the radio searches. Then, a voice comes through.
Which will follow this message. Repeating, this is a message from the Emergency Broadcast System. By order of General Dwight Appleton, Head of Homeland Security, the United States of America is now under martial law. All citizens are advised to follow directives from their local military command, shelter in a place where practical, and take precautions pertaining to nuclear contamination, a list of which will follow this message.
Trey clicks off the radio.
Yeah, that'll be bullshit. The government isn't going to help now.
He opens the console, pulls out the pint, and takes another draw as he drives the center line. His mailbox is 100 yards away and closing fast. He takes the turn onto a dirt driveway without slowing, barely missing the barbed wire fence posts. Interior Dodson house, continuous. Brittany, 29, blonde hair slightly disheveled, mumbling to herself at the kitchen sink.
Not that he'd noticed, just like Mom had predicted. I never should have.
She leans forward at the sink, looking at out the kitchen window. As Trey's truck approaches, a huge dust cloud follows it. She picks up the fussing Kimber, 2 months, daughter, innocence.
What's Daddy doing? Huh, Pumpkin?
Exterior house, continuous. Trey locks up the brakes and skids to a stop inches from the front porch. Brittany comes out holding the baby. The dust cloud rolls over her as he jumps out of the cab.
What the hell, Trey?
She uses her free hand to turn Kimber's head into her chest to avoid the dust. Zeke catapults off the flatbed and heads for the barn.
Zeke, hold. There's no time, Brittany. They launched the damn missiles. Didn't you see them go?
He reaches back inside the still open pickup door, places the bottle back on the console, and grabs the bag of pills off the dash.
What are you talking about? I've been downstairs doing laundry all morning.
He points towards the empty missile silos.
I mean, there's a nuclear war going on, Brittany. The missiles may not make it here, but the fallout most likely will. We have to move now, baby.
Trey moves past her into the house. He cups his daughter's chin with his rough hand as he passes by her. A television is on, but shows only the emergency broadcast system logo.
Oh, okay. Well, did you get my pills?
Interior Dodson house.
We need to get ready, Britt. Yes, I got your pills, but I need you to get all the food up here loaded into laundry baskets or something. I don't know, but something. Then get the guns and ammo from the cabinet and take it to the basement. I'll haul the food down once you get it ready. I'm going out to get the chickens.
Brittany's not moving.
What about my parents in Sacramento? I have to tell them.
She turns to the kitchen counter and picks up her phone.
I don't think the phones will work. I tried to call you on my way. We need to get our food packed now, please. Brittany.
Brittany stares at the blank phone, pushing buttons over and over. Exterior house, continuous. Tires skidding to a stop are heard. Another dust cloud blows in through the open door. The sound of vehicle doors slamming. As the dust clears, Shelley, 36, widow, ponytail, boots and jeans, holster on hip, enters, followed by Gunner, 14, her son. Clean cut, slightly pudgy, doesn't sit at the cool kids' lunch table. He's carrying a shotgun. A bandolier of shells hangs off his shoulder.
Did you see him go, Trey?
Trey looks past her out the door. A rusted 1962 pickup sits in the background.
Yeah, they're saying nukes are inbound. It can't be long before. I'm glad you two took us up on the offer.
I'm just glad you offered. I'm glad the damn truck started. Where do you need us?
She looks at Brittany, who's still trying her phone.
I think we have some time, but there are things we need to get done quickly. I need you to get Brittany and the baby into the basement. Then come up and I'll get all the food you can haul down.
Roger that. Where's your parents?
Trey looks out the open door to the yard.
They went to Menlo for groceries and feed. They should be back any minute, I hope.
Shelley steps over to where Brittany stands.
Brittany, honey, let's get you and Kimber downstairs now.
Brittany never even looks up at her, but just keeps pushing the buttons on the phone.
I don't know what's wrong with this thing. I just spoke to my mom earlier. Trey, did you bring my pills?
Shelley looks to Trey and they lock eyes. Trey shrugs his shoulders. Shelley slowly shakes her head and tries again.
Maybe the cell tower is down again. You know how it goes out here in the Toolies. Let's go downstairs for now and we can try again later.
No, I have to call my mom.
Brittany dodges Shelley's grasp and walks away down the hall, turning into a room there. Kimber watches Shelley around her mom's arm as they go.
Okay then, let's get the supplies down below and we'll deal with her once that's done.
How about your sister and her bunch? Are they coming?
They're supposed to be on their way at the first sign of trouble, but by the time they get all loaded up, it'll take them at least an hour to get here. Their damn truck ain't in much better shape than yours. We'll just have to hope they're on their way. Cells seem to be down. I can't get a hold of her. Maybe the towers are overloaded.
Interior Calumet garage morning. Elise slams the rear door of the family's older model SUV. Her husband, Dan Calumet, 29, who wears a Pizza Palace shirt and cap, has just arrived at the house and pulls his mountain bike into the garage. Justin is already sitting in the back seat of the SUV.
Damn it, Dan, I told you to hurry. What took so long?
I couldn't just walk out on my job, Elise. I had to make sure that everyone went home. Then I had to make sure all the equipment was turned off, then make a deposit and drop the bag off at the bank.
Elise stands at the open passenger side door with both hands planted on the roof. Her temper flares as she shouts at Dan across the hood.
Seriously? What are you thinking? There's no reason to do any of that. None of that matters anymore. What matters is getting your family to safety. Now get in, we need to leave. The go bags are already in the car.
Hang tight for just a second. We still have time to get to your brother's place. I just rode this bike for 4 miles. I need some water and I want to grab a couple of things.
Dan exits into the house. Elise slaps the hood of the car and follows him in. Interior Calumet house.
Come on, Dan. You're putting all of us in danger. We have to go.
I just want to grab a few of my books and the guitar if we're going to be stuck in that hole for very long. I'll bet you packed your yoga mat and ankle weights, didn't you?
No, only the stuff we need to survive, and that's all you should be thinking about. What is wrong with you?
She turns and heads back for the garage.
I'll give you 2 minutes, and then Justin and I are leaving.
Bitch.
Interior Dodson house. Later, Trey and Gunner pick up 2 boxes full of food from the kitchen counter.
That's the last of it. Fridge, freezer, pantry, everything I can find.
Good enough. I'm going out to get the chickens after this load.
Brittany reappears in the hallway, still pushing buttons on her phone.
Trey, honey, can you have a look at this phone? I can't get a call to go through.
Not now, Britt. We have to get stuff down below.
Hey, let me try.
Trey shakes his head and moves back into the kitchen to allow her to pass. Shelley moves to Brittany, places his arm around shoulders, and guides her away. Trey stares at the holster and watches it slap with the movement of her hips. Then he sees Kimber looking back at him from around her mother's arm. He closes his eyes tight.
Come on, sweetie. Let's get you and Kimber downstairs.
I need to call my parents.
Trey turns to Gunner and notices his eyes heavy with tears.
You all right there, son?
Are we going to die, sir?
Not if we can help it, son. Now, do you guys have anything to unload?
Yes, sir. Some camping gear, a little food, and some extra ammo for the guns.
Good then. Get that stuff downstairs and empty my gun cabinet. The key's on top. Oh, and grab the Coleman lanterns out of the front hall closet. Just set all that anywhere downstairs. I'll be outside for a bit.
Exterior house and barn continuous. Gunner runs out the front door. Trey follows, but turns towards the barn, Zeke at his side. Gates are opened, horses run into the pasture. Chickens are caught and placed into pet carriers and those loaded on a garden wagon. Throwing on 2 sacks of feed, he grabs the handle and begins towards the house.
Zeke, come!
He's stopped in mid-stride. The ground trembles. Shelley appears at doorway. They lock eyes.
Trey, come on, we gotta go down.
He hesitates. The dirt quivers. It increases until both have trouble keeping their balance. A low moan is heard from deep in the earth. The ground vibrates like an etch-a-sketch, erasing all footprints in the dust. Tremors pass. Trey grabs a carrier. Shelley grabs another.
Go, go, go!
Zeke goes down the basement steps ahead of the pair. Both set down their carriers and turn back up the stairs to get the others. As they reach the top of the stairs, the light overhead blinks out, but they continue towards the sunlight at the front door. Interior house continuous. The television now blank. The fins of a previously running fan on the kitchen counter continue to slow.
Was that a new kidding or the burst from a high-altitude blast?
They pause for a second at the open doorway. Her hand rests flat against his back as they stand stooped over, trying to catch their breath.
I don't know, it could have been both. We probably wouldn't know either way. Did you see a flash?
No.
I mean, neither. But those tremors could have traveled through the ground from a long ways out. You gotta figure the closest target is the base at Topperman. And that's, what, at least 200 miles away, or maybe something even further, like Lafayette Airfield.
He reaches behind himself and grabs her other wrist, pulling her out the door behind him.
Come on.
Exterior house and barn.
So we're out of the blast radius then, right?
The mountains should shield us, but we need to be underground. I'm sure there'll be fallout. The wind's out of the northwest, right where those damn bases are.
They both pull up short at the garden wagon where 2 other crates and the feed still sit.
How long do you think before it gets here?
Depends on how fast the winds are blowing, especially the upper level ones. Could be hours, could be later tonight, or not until morning, but it will be coming.
Shelley pulls out her cell phone.
That ain't good.
What?
Cell phone's dead. No screen at all. Won't even turn on.
Trey pulls his phone out and repeatedly pushes the power button. His eyes come up from the blank screen to meet hers.
That's strike 2 for an electromagnetic pulse if a nuke was detonated up high.
Well, let's check for strike 3.
Trey runs over to the cab of his pickup. Zeke sits at Shelley's feet and cocks his head. Trey tries the key, no response from his vehicle. He grabs the bottle for a quick mouthful, replaces it, and exits. Shelley watches this scene with concern and shakes her head. They don't speak of it.
Yep. Gotta be an EMP. She's fried.
Well, how come they're still rolling?
She indicates the direction of the highway. The roar of the engines is faint, but growing louder as 2 motorcycles carrying 3 riders come into view. They turn into Trey's driveway and head towards the house.
Probably built before microchips, so there's nothing there to fry. You stay inside. I'll see what they want.
Shelley retreats into the shadows of the entry. Trey reaches to his hip and realizes the service revolver isn't there as he walks out onto the driveway. The 3 men get off the bikes.
What are you guys doing? I told you that you need to take cover.
Yep, and we figure you got the best cover around, Deputy. What with that nice underground rabbit hole you and the old man dug for yourselves?
Sorry, boys, but we simply have no room to take in any more bodies. If you hurry, I think you still have time to get back to that shelter at the courthouse.
Come on, deputy. You gotta let us in. It's your sworn duty. Protect and serve, remember?
Biker 1 pulls a handgun from the waistband behind his back.
Now we can either do this the easy way, or the only bodies that won't be in place in there will be you and your family. Toby told us about all the supplies you got down there. Sounds like just enough to get us through in grand style.
Toby shrugs his shoulders. Trey holds his hands at chest level with palms out.
Now, boys, this ain't the time for this. We don't want any trouble.
Shelley swings into the daylight on the porch, throwing the bolt closed on a high-powered rifle as she does. She brings it to her shoulder and sights towards the bikers through the scope.
And you don't want no trouble neither. Now you best get back on those hogs and head to town while you still can.
Now just hold on, Shelley.
Hold on nothing. Trey told you there ain't no room.
Biker 2 pulls a long knife from the sheath at his hip. The crack of a rifle shot is heard instantly, and Biker 1 is blown backwards in the dirt. Shelley turns back out of sight around the corner. The sound of another shell being racked and the bolt slamming is heard. She steps back into view, scope to her eye once again.
Shelley, goddammit!
We got no time for this, Trey.
Exterior highway moments earlier. Harley Dotson, 62, grizzled old coot, farmer patriarch, walks the edge of the highway in his John Deere baseball cap, pushing a wheelbarrow filled with grocery bags. At his side is wife Carol Dotson, 59, weathered, pioneer, gingham dress, and a straw gardening hat. Stranded and sweating, they crest a hill.
Well, what do you suppose is going on down there?
At the bottom of the slope sits a late model Nissan. Inside sits Madison Dexter, 17, hostess uniform, lots of bangles, overdone eye makeup. She looks down into her cell screen, tapping at it with custom nails, as Harley approaches her open window.
Well, hello there.
Oh, thank God. Do you have a phone I can use? My car just stopped for no reason.
She sticks her head out the window and looks behind them.
Wait, where's your car?
Well, same as you, kiddo. Just stopped and put us afoot.
Carol's face now appears to the girl beside Harley's in the window.
Do you live around here, dear?
No.
Maybe you'd best come with us then, child.
No, that's all right. I'll just wait for AAA. They'll be here shortly.
Now look, kiddo. How are you going to call AAA when the phones don't work? Now, and if both our cars stopped at the same time, it stands to reason that nobody else is going to be driving by here very soon.
We really need to go now, dear. If that vibration was the bombs going off, we'll need to hurry now.
My dad will kill me if I leave the car. Maybe I'll just start walking back home. Wait, what did you say about a bomb?
Didn't you feel the ground shake, Trey?
Yeah, I thought it maybe was an earthquake.
Didn't you get that warning on your phone a little while ago?
Well, I saw it pop up, but I didn't really read it. I saw something about radiation, but I thought it was a joke, and I was busy anyway, texting.
Oh my, sweetheart. How far away from here do you live?
3 miles south of Menlo.
Well, that's at least 20-some miles away. You'll never make it.
Wait, tell me what is going on here.
Add it up. Phone stop, vehicle stop, ground shaking. There ain't no earthquakes in New Mexico, darling. Then add radiation on top of that. It means a nuclear war, kid, and we need to get underground and safe as soon as we can. We have a place just up ahead, but we got to leave now. You need to come with us.
But my family, my car, I'm not sure.
Suit yourself, youngster. You can be sure you won't live long if you don't listen to us and move your ass. How far now, Harley?
Carol starts walking down the road. Harley looks to the girl, but then follows.
Well, maybe a mile and a half to Trace.
He looks back at Madison sitting in the car as he says it.
Wait, I'm coming.
She scoots out of the car and slams the door. The group moves off down the road. A distant rifle shot is heard. Harley and Carol look to each other.
And my name is Madison, not Kid.
End of scene.
Right. Do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
I would love a little more information before I could actually speak to what I saw. So Steve, can you tell me, film, right? Screenplay. So is the body of the picture take place post-fallout or during the fallout, or what happens essentially in
The
the rest of
fallout's
the
coming, and he's got to get his family members all to safety, and then the subsequent events that stop him from getting that done quickly.
Okay.
Is
I got
the
you.
premise.
Okay.
So the whole thing takes place before they get into before the fallout arrives. Is that what you're saying?
As the fallout does arrive, as they're about midway,
Through the-
so then they have to survive that period of time when you can't be out in the radiation, and then there's antagonist stuff that's happening towards that part of the story, and then it wraps up, and at the end they can turn outside for a little bit. That's kind of how it works.
Whoever's left alive.
Whoever's left.
Right.
I can go, I guess.
Sure.
Okay. So Steve, first of all, terrific writing. I mean, you're a wonderful, detailed writer, and all that good stuff that was in the stage directions is filled with smart stuff. I would imagine if I were reading the script, the read of it would be a nice experience for me. So what I want to throw back to you is not thinking the way a writer thinks, but it's thinking the way a producer thinks. Okay? You just read about 30 pages, is that right, you guys? So that's about 30 minutes of your screenplay, more than your first act in a typical structure. And there was one actual event, and that was when she shot the guy.
Right.
Okay? You gave me 30 minutes of anticipation of an event that still has not yet happened. And in order to give me all that anticipation, you've had to take me all over town and introduce me to no less than 25 characters, of which I don't know who other than Trey, I don't know who the hell's important here.
Right.
I don't know who's going to wind up stuck at his place and what the antagonist-protagonist conflict is going to be, right? You've given me lots of interesting tidbits about all the potential players in the mix. But if this was a TV series pilot, I'd say, okay, maybe you're setting me up for the town, and this is going to be a piece about an entire town, post-apocalypse, surviving. But it doesn't seem in the screenplay like that's what you're doing. And if I'm a producer and I got to pay for all this kerfuffle before I even get to my story about what the real event is, I'm not going to make this movie.
Okay. So I need more action.
So I don't understand why your movie doesn't start in the bunker with everybody that's going to be there, because they're the only people I need to deal with. This seems to be a story about Trey and the people he cares about and the problems inside his family already, right, and his friends and whoever got into this bunker and these strangers and these this agitation from within under these very dire circumstances. None of these people are prepared to survive 2 weeks of a post-nuclear holocaust. So you've got a very interesting premise of it's not safe to go out, and I don't know if it's safe to stay in. Fascinating idea. But your whole first act, that whole 30 minutes, I'm waiting. So if you use a model like Tom Cruise's War of the Worlds, there's eventually a whole bunch of journey and a whole bunch of people he deals with. But we're in that story in 5 minutes. We know who's important, and he ties us to everything. Anytime you can cut away from Trey to start introducing somebody else's story, you probably have a problem, because all roads have to lead to Trey, I think, not knowing the rest of your screenplay. So my basic reaction to you, here's what I wrote. Who do I care about here? This is all build up. There's no actual event yet. The world is ending, but it keeps growing on every page. And so, this is not about the quality of your writing or the meat of your story, because we haven't yet gotten to the meat of your story. I can't speak to that. I can only tell you from a producing side, I've already put this screenplay down going, I don't have a movie to make here.
We need more meat in the...
I've spent 30 minutes and God knows how many $1 million finding this town, introducing all these characters for Henny Penny going, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. We know the sky is falling. Let it fucking fall. Because that's when I think your story starts to get interesting and unique and something that nobody has done before, especially in a screenplay. Again, if it was a pilot for a series, there might be great value in introducing us to all these different players that are going to be part of the world. But in a screenplay,
Everything's got to be there at the beginning. Gotcha.
Yeah, what he said. Yeah, I was interesting because I read the scripts and then it's always interesting to hear them. And I confess, hearing it, I didn't notice when reading it how many times there was repeated information, which is, again, what to Jason's point. So it was almost like every scene repeated the same information to someone new. And it was only when I heard it that it was like, wow, they're saying essentially the same thing. Like Trey a couple of times said, the fallout's coming once the wind blows, right. we don't have much time. We got sort of the same information in the drugstore, with even with his parents at the end in the last scene. I mean, everybody was sort of relaying the same stuff. So I was thinking, as I was listening, it's like, I'm interested in Trey, and you set up nicely that his wife's crazy and not handling it. It was great that you were setting up these different things. But I completely concur. My main point was going to be get this thing going. And what appealed to me was Trey driving and seeing the rockets. I also didn't think you needed the opening stuff, the context. Okay. I thought that was we didn't need it. I think once you see a dude driving, or if Jason's seeing and you see ash start falling, and they have no, I mean, you can relay that in like a page or two. We don't need the politics and the submarines and all that other stuff. I really felt that, for me, the movie, the first image was Trey driving along, seeing the rocket trail, and then as soon as you show that, we all know we're fucked.
Okay.
And then what's interesting about your story is how real people, not, because in most apocalypse movies we see the heroic Will Smith who's the fighter pilot who's going to save the world. What you're showing us is a bunch of really ordinary people kind of away from, like, we're going to avoid seeing buildings blown up, right. Which is quite a relief for an apocalyptic kind of movie. And so I was like, wow, what's appealing to me is how do ordinary people deal with the end of what they know.
Right. To that effect, Steve, if your opening was everybody in that bunker that is going to be there, with guys holding guns on each other, with somebody going through withdrawals, with a kid trying to get a cell phone to work, and outside I'm hearing either the radio and you get the static, or you can hear the blasts, or you can, now I know, nobody can, all that stuff is all starts to happen right here, because now it's, well, you got a gun on me, we're in my space, she's gonna start going through withdrawal because her pills aren't here. Yeah. Right. The kid's gonna freak out, the pregnant lady's gonna give birth, the old guy is gonna, I mean, there's so much that can happen, and as a producer, I'm going, thank you, you're giving me basically you've taken this epic, and you've made it an indie film that I can produce. Right. And then get me where you need me to go. If it opens up and expands that world and makes it, more fun, then I'll put up the cash to get those moments into the film. But if you do me the favor of saying, no, this is Lifeboat, we're in the lifeboat, who's going to survive this thing? You've done your saleability a world of good. Good.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, you drop us right into the story. I completely agree. Because you do well. The only other point, just from a technical point of view, is as much as I do appreciate the level of detail you put in the scene description, it might be a little bit too much detail in the scene description just to keep things moving, just a bit of momentum. You can still use your lovely language, but just, we don't need quite as much detail. Because again, when you're reading a script and you see a block of scene description, you groan audibly. I do a lot of groaning, and it's like, oh, okay. Especially at the beginning, it's like, oh, I just want to get into this. I don't want to read. If I wanted to read a novel, I'd be reading a novel. I get me to the dialogue-y bits, so let the actors do their thing. Okay. So that would be my comment. But otherwise, I mean, I think you've got a really interesting idea. I've watched it come down from where it was and where it is now. I think it's well and truly on a good track. And I think you have a really interesting idea, dealing with this from a viewpoint of these people. I think it's really, I want to see what you do with it. So, just get us into the bunker.
Okay.
Because they're really interesting people. I mean, I even want the bad guys to be in the bunker. I mean, the guys on the motorbikes. I mean, there's all sorts of weirdos you've collected. Yeah. All right. Anybody have any thoughts? I see a hand at the back. Yes, you, sir.
for the hope, but I agree with Tim. Be careful that I've yet to see a newscaster done well in a movie as far as exposition goes. So for me, just make sure that you're handling that well, that's realistic. And then I'm just going to share, I have a lot of family and friends, so this is actually finally when they got that nuclear missile warning a couple of months ago. There was...
in Hawaii?
In Hawaii,
yeah.
There's quite a bit of panic that happened. My sister, she ran out and cut her leg trying to save her cats. And the guy who actually did it, he panicked and he hit the button by mistake. There was a lot of confusion about whether it was actually happening or not. And there was a lot of panic about getting water and, car accidents and people really kind of doing a lot of stupid things right away without thinking. And thinking about all your characters seem very calm and collected in those moments and almost flippant with their own lives. Whereas some of it would be a little more reflective. Oh my God, I'm going to die. I haven't done anything with my life. Oh my God, I'm going to die. What about what's going to happen to my family? So if you can capture a little bit of that, I think it would open up the world a little bit.
And I got to get my cats, so.
Something made me, what you were saying made me think. You've also told us that Trey is, I guess the term is a survivalist. He has a stocked bunker. This is a guy who's planned for Armageddon. So his emotional state probably should stand in stark contrast to everyone else's. He has known and for certainty that this day was coming and prepped for it. You're a prepper, that's what they are.
That's what they are. I mean, so I've heard.
And that might possibly be used to better advantage just as how to draw that character.
Okay.
Yeah, makes a nice contrast.
Yeah.
Yeah, a bit more panic would be nice. Yeah, I mean, I don't mean that at all. Anyone else? Oh, yes.
I understand what Jason and Tim are saying about getting right to it, but I have to say I was riveted in when he wants to get in and he's like, just hold on now. It made me think of something, which is the most prepared person that we all want to be is suddenly kind of fucked.
Yeah.
So I found that absolutely, riveting. I don't know if that still could get right to it, but I could have seen more before they actually get in there, and it was fascinating to me.
Thank you.
I did like I did have one reading as well. I did have that sense of panic. Like whenever he was getting delayed, it was like, but the fallout's coming, and just get in. So that is the one counter I have to the other feedback. Like if they're already in, you lose that moment. So I don't know. I kind of felt that stop fucking around with these idiots. Get into the thing. Why are you at the pharmacy? Why is that lady doing? Why is Dan wandering around with the stupid books? Let's just get into the freaking bunker. There's the fallout's coming. It's up to you. It's your script at the end of the day. You can take it. But if you're going to leave them out of the bunker for a while, you absolutely 100% have to ramp up that panic.
Right.
It has to be.
And then get them in the bunker.
Yeah. I think there's a compromise there. If that's all right with Jackson.
Compromise?
Yeah.
The thing I 100% agree with is it's your story to tell. So, I always, with these things, I always think you have to take the Hippocratic oath, first do no harm.
Yeah. Right.
You know what you want to make, what you want to present. If this is helpful, great. If it's not the story you want to tell, then I'm an idiot and you throw it away. You tell the story you want to tell. All I was saying was, as a producer, I would probably, at this point, have said, I don't think I can do this because it's not compelling enough or getting me where I think I need to go, and yet I see the meter clicking, and I hate to think like that, but that's what producers do think like.
Yeah.
Go on, money.
All right. You said it.
Yeah, I walked in a little bit late, and I was almost convinced that I didn't have any preface to what it was. I was almost convinced I was listening to a TV pilot. I was just curious just in how detailed you were. I was curious, when you first started writing this, was there anything in your head that you wanted to model your idea after? As if this is a screenplay, what were you thinking in your head, my movie's gonna be like this movie, or that movie?
The screenplay is based on a novel I wrote, and so that's where that came from.
Okay.
So, although, I don't know how many of you have written a novel and then written a screenplay with it, but the plot just goes like this off in another direction because you're writing for visual versus detail, which you didn't know. Right. The whole TV pilot thing, I've had other feedback from other people that told me that same thing, that it would make a great TV pilot for a series if I wanted to go that direction. So something is making that crop up.
Yeah, I mean, it could, because if you ramp up the panic in the pilot episode, you get to introduce your main players, have them all mad, and I guess the end of the pilot is when the ash starts falling and they're in the bunker pointing guns, everything that Jason was saying. That's kind of your end of your pilot, and we're like, holy fuck, this is a, yeah. I mean, you could. Again.
Or your pilot is in essence, it's Walking Dead. Walking Dead is a world where there's chaos rules and there's no cavalry to come.
Right.
If that's the result of this if nuclear Armageddon has in fact taken place, and somehow this little community has managed to survive it, but they are totally isolated and they're on their own.
All this other stuff.
You've got Walking Dead, you've got Lost, you've got the model for all kinds of TV shows that have come before you.
Yeah. I did have that thought actually too, like what if they knew nothing? Like what if there was no emergency broadcast system, there was nothing.
I had that.
There was just the missile launch and then silence.
Yeah,
and they were all just like Lord of the Flies. They were just running around like, what the fuck's going on? Because I guarantee you, we would turn into animals in about 3 seconds in this room. I mean, we would not handle it well. So I think, no offense to all of you, but I just think there'd be so many different reactions to that.
My wife still has the plastic sheeting and the duct tape.
Does she?
Because about 10 years ago, there was like a scare that this was going to happen, and we had the Israeli used gas mask. Can I just, my feeling is if the bombs are coming, can I please catch the first one? I don't have to live through all this.
I know, it doesn't sound like fun. Anyway, so everybody, Jason's house is the place to go because he has the duct tape.
Yep.
So
that's all you need is duct tape.
That's all right, we'll take one more. I see. Oh my God, there's a whole bunch of hands. Rick, I'll take you.
So I was in the Air Force. I don't know if you were or not. The first thing that happens in a nuclear attack is an EMP. That's the first thing. That wipes out every kind of electronic communication in the radius of the blast. The other thing, you got him seeing silos, but saying they're not close enough to anywhere to be targeted. Believe me, an ICBM is going to target every missile silo in the country.
Oh, thanks for that. We live in Nebraska, rural Nebraska.
Exactly.
And in 20 miles, I'll pass about 8 of those silos.
Oh yeah.
Right off the road.
Yeah, they'd be targeted, wouldn't they?
So I'm done. So
yeah, you're fine.
I'm with Jason. We're catching.
Yeah, you're catching.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Other thing is, if this guy's really a prepper, and he even if he doesn't suspect a nuclear attack is imminent, he's going to be carrying around a Geiger counter. You're not going to see radiation. If the radiation is invisible and shows up and the Geiger counter starts going off, that's more of a threat than seeing a cloud. And if he sees a dust cloud and not a mushroom cloud, then you got a nuclear blast, you're going to see a mushroom cloud
right.
A long time before the radiation or a dust cloud gets to you, unless you're close enough to be directly affected by it immediately.
Okay.
And the iodine tablets are a big thing, right, too, for the preppers?
That depends on how close you are, how much of a dose you get. But I will say the one thing you do have correct is the 2-week period, because the radiation is actually in the form of a really sharp curve up and a peak. Then after 2 weeks, you're safe to go out for a limited period of time.
This is the house to go.
Yeah. No, I know, Rick, it's totally the house to go. Ma'am, I saw your hand up several times, so we'll make you the last one.
So, Jason, when you talk about getting right into the story, I think based on Steve's screenplay, which I really love, but dropping right in, the first movie that comes to mind, and I know it's really geeky, but is Twister. That's kind of like you're right in the middle of them chasing the Twister, and you're like brought right in, and then they bring their team around them, and is that similar to what you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I think any of those are a good example. The downside of Twister is you're there for the first one, and then there's more, and I don't know if there's going to be repeated attacks. So you don't want to. I mean, as I was listening, and I thought, well, if he did change his storytelling so that Act 2 becomes Act 1, a lot of the story you want to tell could be told in flashbacks and could be told, so you might be able to get that effect. I'm just saying, with something like this, 30 minutes or 30 pages of build-up is probably too much. That's really the minimal thing I'm saying. If you were really, William Goldman-y, you drop it right in on boom, as they're all listening, and you go, well, we're in it now. And same thing like when I left the house today, my kids were watching Quiet Place. And that movie doesn't fuck around. It's right in. I'm in the department store, kid makes a sound, thing comes, and you go, got it. And that to me is great structure, because now I know where all my problems are, I know what my conditions are, I know what world I'm in, I know what the threat is. So it's all right there. And the people who are much better at dramatic writing than I am always say, start your action as close to the event as you can, unless there's a compelling reason not to. So I've never read anything where I thought that was a mistake, for whatever it's worth.
Thank you.
All right.
So we don't have.
Thank you. Steve.
Amboy, pilot. When the River Floods the Desert, written by Sabrina Besla. Exterior, Mojave Desert, dawn. A desolate area deep in the Mojave Desert. No signs of life. After a few beats, we hear a slow, stumbling footsteps. A pause, then another few steps. Feet dragging, struggling to move. We see biker boots. At first blurry, the owner's POV trying to focus. We hear his shallow, wincing breath. The owner is Nash Rivers, 30, and he is absolutely shit-faced. His tattooed torso shirtless, except for his leather vest. Black eyeliner smudged across his face, unwashed, dusty hair, and ripped leather pants. His chipped black nail polish clutches a bottle of whiskey. He reaches an edge of a hill overlooking the vast valley of dry dirt and cacti. He stops, teeters, looks down at the bottle and pulls it up to his cracked lips, swigging what's left. He holds the bottle up in triumph and in all his might chucks it into the distance. He teeters again, catching his balance. He scans the terrain. It's breathtaking, yet lonely. A split second of sadness washes over Nash's glassy-eyed face, but quickly snaps out of it. He lifts his arms once again in the air with power. I am God! His voice echoes for miles. He waits for a second and receives a response of coyotes howling. He smiles and howls right back. Ooh! As he howls, a sudden rush of disconnected images. Nash snorting cocaine. A group of rock musicians destroying a hotel room. Various people having sex and kissing. Nash drunkenly rocking out on his guitar. Nash throwing up and then passing out in the bathroom. His howls continue, sinking with the coyotes until Nash leans back too far. He loses his balance, falls backwards, hitting the ground in one drop, knocking him out cold. The desert is silent again. Title card, Amboy, title card 2, based on a true story. Interior bedroom, day. A blurred room comes into focus. Nash's eyes start to dart around and gather his bearings. He lies in a twin-sized bed in a child's bedroom. He groggily sits up, wincing in pain. He turns to the door to see Opie, 8, wide-eyed, a little goofy, instantly lovable. As Opie inches closer to him, Nash instinctually shifts his body back. Not a fan of little people. Opie reaches the bed and zooms his head as close as he can to Nash. Suddenly, Opie spits in Nash's face, flashing his pearly whites, and darts out of the room as fast as a baby raptor.
Oh, what the fuck?
Nash leaps up, attempts to chase after him, but drops down in pain. He looks to his feet and sees they are bandaged up. Before he can process what's happening, Luella, 40s, kind face, plain Jane type, comes rushing in.
I'm so sorry. Did Opie spit on you? He does that from time to time. It's a sign of endearment, I swear. He likes you.
Your child is the devil.
Nephew, actually. He's a sweetheart, I promise. He hasn't left your side in the last week.
Nash's head darts up, concerned. A week?
Oh, here, let me help you.
She leans down to help pull him up, but Nash isn't having it.
Yeah, I can manage.
He stands up. She hands him his tattered boots.
The name's Luella. I'm a nurse. You gave us a bit of a scare.
He sits on the bed and painfully puts on his boots.
It's gonna take some time for your feet to heal. You walked a long way, so they're pretty raw. The more time you spend off them, the better.
Mm-hmm. Where the hell am
Amboy.
I? Where?
Amboy, that's the name of the town.
Nash blankly stares back.
You don't remember?
Nothing.
Why don't you get dressed and meet us outside?
She makes her way to the door.
I noticed you didn't come with a shirt, so there's a fresh one in the bathroom next to the towels.
Interior bathroom, moments later. Nash turns on the bathroom light. He catches sight of himself in the mirror. Haggard, tired, looks like he's died twice over. Exactly what a lifetime of booze and drugs would do. He sighs, looks over and sees the shirt. He lifts it up. Printed on the shirt, Amboy, the jewel of the Mojave since 1858. A gift shop find. Nash throws it on, 2 sizes too small. He looks back at his reflection in the mirror, sad and pathetic. Exterior street day. Nash limps his way out of the house. Burning daylight that stings his eyes and a wall of heat hits him immediately. He scans his surroundings, discombobulated as the sweat drips from his skin. As Nash limps further, we see the main strip of the town, a non-working post office, Roy's Motel and Cafe, gas station and saloon, and a mechanic shop. Most stores have closed signs on them. Some shops are boarded up. In the far distance, there are trailers, small houses, an unkept railway, followed by empty desert. Few town folk stop what they're doing and stare. Luella and Opie wait eagerly for Nash to reach them. As he limps over, he eyes Opie. Doesn't trust him one bit. Luella hands Nash a bag.
Here, just some essentials. Sunscreen, few extra bandages for your feet, and water. Gotta stay hydrated.
Got any booze?
Luella laughs until she realizes he isn't kidding. Nash looks around and notices a small crowd starting to form.
They're curious, that's all. They've been waiting eagerly for you to wake up.
Why?
I think you better talk to the sheriff.
The sheriff?
Yeah, he's waiting for you at the station down the street. Opie can show you where it is.
Nash looks down at Opie, who's still grinning ear to ear. Opie starts walking. Nash slowly follows. Opie tries to hold Nash's hand. Nash swats him away, tries again, fails. Interior police station day. Nash enters a bleak and lifeless police station. 1 small holding cell in the corner and 3 barren desks. It appears crime is scarce in these parts. Hello? No reply. Nash limps past the front desk and explores. He reaches the 3rd desk, notices a stack of newspapers. On each of the front pages is his strung-out face with the headlines, "Rocker missing after drug-fueled bender," and, finally, he's out of LA, and, "Loser missing. Does anyone care?"
Fuck me.
He throws the papers on the desk, pulling out the chair, and takes a seat. He takes a long, exhausted sigh and then spots the desk drawer slightly open. He opens it further to find a flask and a porn magazine. A porn magazine from the 1980s, to be exact. He lets out a childlike chuckle, flips open the mag, and throws back the flask. Just as he is about to get comfortable, we hear the cocking of a pistol that's pointing directly to the back of Nash's head. Nash freezes. Sheriff Xana Vault, 60, sour-faced, aloof, weathered but wise, stands behind Nash, finger on the trigger. He pushes the gun into Nash's head. Sheriff Vault is none too pleased.
What the hell kind of a man drinks another man's whiskey while looking at another man's dirty?
Nash doesn't.
A desperate man in withdrawal drinks the whiskey. As for the dirty, well, in my defense, I didn't know what I was looking at. It's all the shit.
Put the magazine down, hands in the air, slowly turn around.
Nash does what he's told. They are face to face. Voice points the gun to Nash's forehead.
Take a hard look at that weapon. Look familiar?
Exterior, desert, flashback, night. Montage of images. Nash maniacally shooting the gun into the sky. Nash pointing the gun at his head in a game of Russian roulette. By himself. Nash dropping the gun while pretending to be a cowboy. Naked. Interior police station back to present day. Gun now pressed into Nash's skull.
Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't.
Vault puts away the gun, sizing Nash up.
You seem a bit lost.
I might have taken a wrong turn at some point or another.
Vault looks down at the newspapers and back at Nash.
Tabloids, you can never trust them. Always over-exaggerating the truth, plus I am much prettier in person.
Nash extends his hand.
Name's Nash, Nash Rivers.
Vault doesn't move. Nash drops his hand as he eyes the sheriff badge pinned on Vault.
And you are Sheriff Xana Vault. Pleasure to meet you, Sheriff.
We met before.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, we have.
Trust me, I would remember.
Yeah, well, that's a problem. I don't trust you. Not one bit. But unfortunately, I now have to deal with you. Legally.
How so?
Vault pulls out a stack of papers when Jade Bird, 30s, head turner, Bonnie Parker type, storms in, angry as fuck.
You son of a bitch!
Nash turns around his seat to face Jade Bird, instantly liking what he sees.
Oh, hell, here we go.
Nash cracks his rock star charmer toothy grin. Jade Bird rushes towards Nash like a bull in heat. Vault prematurely winces. This is gonna hurt.
Well, hello, sweetheart. My name.
In one swift movement, Jade Bird clocks Nash square in the nose, knocking him out cold. Interior bedroom, hour later. Nash wakes up on the same twin bed with Opie eagerly hovering over him. This time his nose is bloodied and bruised.
Don't even think about it, kid.
Exterior street day. Nash limps out once again. Luella's waiting for him.
Yeah, she ain't a big fan of yours.
Yeah, no shit, Luella.
Nash limps toward her. She hands him a tissue for his nose.
No idea why, though.
Luella gives Nash a confused look.
Where can I find that lovely sheriff of yours?
He's at the saloon.
Oh, finally, one thing I understand.
Interior saloon day. A bar out of a Western movie with a few patrons scattered throughout. The only real action in the place comes from Vault, who sits at a table pouring himself bourbon. He places the bottle on top of the same stack of papers from the station. Jade Bird stands behind the bar, still scowling. Nash limps his way in.
Have a seat.
Nash does as he's told.
Hand me another glass, would you?
Jade Bird tosses a glass to Vault. Vault takes the bottle, pours the bourbon, and slides it towards Nash.
Take the edge off, kid. Your dainty little hands are shaking like you just been tasered.
Nash says nothing. Grabs the glass and downs the drink in one gulp as if water. Jade Bird scoffs, rolling her eyes.
Hey, who's the Medusa over there?
That's Jade Bird.
Jade Bird. Stupid name.
She's my daughter.
And she's a peach.
Nash eyes his empty glass and then the bottle of bourbon.
Go ahead, pour yourself another. Although I'm pretty sure the dark liquor and a whole lot of bad decisions is what got you into this mess.
Nash doesn't skip a beat and gives himself a generous pour.
Or some would say that's called having a good time.
Down the hatch. It takes a minute to enjoy the booze burn.
And what mess are you referring to?
Look around. Do you even know where you're at?
Nash looks down at his shirt.
And boy.
Upside down.
It's a gem, apparently. Fine. I'll play. I'm in the desert. I live in Los Angeles, so we're what? Joshua Tree?
There's a few chuckles from the bar. Jade Bird slams a glass down on the bar. You can now almost hear her eyes roll.
You near town, Vegas?
Chuckles grow louder. Nash shifts in his seat, uncomfortable.
We ain't near no Joshua Tree or any other tourist town. We're in the deepest parts of nothing. We ain't even on some maps. You must have come across the town sign a few miles out.
Town sign?
The for sale sign?
For the town?
That's right.
So what's that got to do with me, man?
Vault slides the papers over to Nash. Nash flips through and stops on the page with "Sold" written in big, bold red letters. He looks down to see his drunken chicken scratch signature at the bottom. Nash's face grows pale. His eyes dart back up to the sheriff.
Looks like you bought the gem of the Mojave Princess.
Nash lets out a hearty laugh.
No, that can't be possible.
He flips through the papers again. Nash's smile drops from his face.
I mean, there's no way, right?
His eyes bounce around the room. Nobody's laughing. Nash looks off as it dawns on him.
Wait. No. What?
Exterior, Desert Road, flashback night. Nash standing in front of a large billboard. Amboy, town for sale. He spray paints "Sold, bitches" across it. He turns to the empty desert, throwing his hands in the air.
Ha-ha, victory!
Interior saloon, back to present day. Nash is now the shade of vampire pale. His eyes dart back up to the sheriff, who pours himself another drink.
When did this happen?
Oh, 2, 3
days ago?
Weeks.
Wait. What? I have zero recollection of this.
I bet you don't.
Why didn't anybody stop me?
Well, with the amount of peyote in your system, not even an army could have stopped you. foaming at the mouth like you got rabies or some shit.
It was that good, huh?
Enough to convince you to buy a goddamn town.
Okay. I'm a musician. A very famous musician at that. I do stupid things all the time, but never this stupid. I live for sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I am not in the business of real estate.
Where we say you're just in the drugs part of that statement. So.
Panic starts to creep in. Breath shortened.
How did I even get here?
Suddenly, the bellowing honk of a horn echoes through the streets. Nash leaps from his seat. Everyone except for Vault, dart their heads toward the window/door of the saloon.
Oh, fuck me.
Cut to exterior streets. Moments later, a beat-up tour bus enters frame. Covered in dust, dirt, tires blown on one side, windows shattered throughout, paint scratch, and a massive dent in the front bumper. Moving haphazardly, the bus sputters to the edge of the town's main street. Nash and the other patrons rush out of the bar. The engine smoke seeps through the hood, taking its last breath. Sputter, sputter, dead. Nash limps up to the front of the bus. He's a miniature figure in comparison to this obnoxiously extra-large beast. Vault saunters out and stands next to Nash.
I assume you're the owner of this monstrosity.
Interior, exterior, tour bus, desert road, flashback night. Pitch black outside. Nash is illuminated by the bus's neon LED lights and cheap strobe light as rock music blasts through the massive speakers hooked on the roof. A party bus on crack. Montage of images. Nash driving the bus while downing a bottle of Jack. Nash trashing the back of the bus. Nash doing a line of coke off the dash. Nash breaking the windshields. Nash lighting a sofa on fire. Nash asleep at the wheel while driving. Exterior street back to present day.
Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't.
I'm fairly certain it's yours, kid.
The tour bus's door opens and out hops Metro, 20s, African American, and forever the optimist. He sports a mechanic's jumpsuit. Metro's stoked. He stands triumphantly like he should be given a medal.
Told you I'd find it.
Metro comes rushing over to Nash and gives him a big bear hug. Nash, while uncomfortable, lets him.
Yeah, man, you did a number on Buttercup.
Buttercup?
Yeah, that's what I named her.
You could have picked a sexier name.
Yeah, I didn't think she was gonna make it running on empty, and well, look at her. She's seen better days.
Have we met?
Yep, Nash, we have. Now you'd remember you were smoking crack.
I'm sorry. Come again?
Name's Metro.
Metro what?
Just Metro.
Who are you, Cher?
Nah, Cher will outlive us all.
Nash likes the He's quick to hide.
You said if I found your bus, you would listen to my demo.
Metro pulls out a tape. Nash takes one look at it and laughs.
What is that?
The crowd, including Metro, shifts uncomfortably.
It's no music.
Yeah, but what is it on? Is that a tape? How would I listen to that?
Nash grabs it, flips it around, and tosses it back to Metro. Metro deflates. Expression falls as he stands crushed.
Look, man, I need to get back to LA, so can I just get the keys?
Vault steps in, snapping Metro out of his sadness.
Metro, let's move this hunk of metal out of the way.
Can't do that, Sheriff. Buttercup ain't going nowhere. This here is her final resting spot until I can get her the parts.
Say what now?
Fuck that noise.
Metro's unsure of who he should respond to first.
So it's just gonna sit here, overlooking our town.
Afraid so, Sheriff.
What, because she's the sore sight within this hell?
He looks to the crowd, sweating profusely. Not sure if it's the heat or the withdrawal. Probably both.
And is anybody else, like, not melting? It's 100 degrees.
120 to be exact.
Luella to the rescue.
Told ya, gotta stay hydrated.
Nash grabs the water, chugs it, and chucks the empty bottle on the ground. Jadebird, instantly enraged, picks up the bottle.
All right, so how long will it take to revive Buttercup?
I have to do a bit of research on this particular type of machine, but from what I gather, could take at least 3 or 4 weeks. Maybe 2 months.
2 months? No way, no. I need to get back to LA. I have an album, I have fans, I have a tour coming up.
That tour's still happening?
Nash hears her, flips the finger.
You got money for them parts? It ain't cheap, so who's gonna pay for Buttercup to get
Nash, while annoyed at Jadebird, can't help but notice her beautiful skin glistening in the sun. He catches himself.
Oh yeah, I'll get the money.
How?
Nash starts to panic.
Yeah, I lost my cell phone. Does anybody have a cell phone I can use?
It's a desert, son. There's no reception. No point in having a cellular device, more problems than they're worth if y'all ask me.
Nash flounders like a fish gasping for water.
Oh, fine. What about the other type of phone? You know, the one that's bigger, like when I was a kid.
You mean a landline?
Yes! That's the thing.
Yeah, we got one at the station.
The town watches as Nash limps his way to the station. Jadebird walks up to Metro, who stands dejected.
Don't sweat it, Metro. He's just figuring it all out. There's a reason he was out here on his own.
Everyone, go home. I'll handle this.
The crowd thins out. Cut to Interior Police Station Day. Nash bolts into the station, Vault right behind him.
You have some nerve coming back and disrupting our lives. Metro, that boy looks up to you. No idea why, but he does. He spent all week trying to find that bus of yours, and all he wanted in return was for you to listen to his music, which you promised him you would, by the by.
Nash, ignoring Vault, picks up an old rotary phone.
God, it's like I stepped back in time.
He hits the receiver a few times. No dial tone.
This doesn't even work.
I wonder why that is.
Interior, exterior, Turbus Street, flashback night. Nash, asleep at the wheel, smoking a blunt. The blunt falls out of his mouth into his crotch, immediately burning him awake just in time to witness the bus plowing into a telephone pole, knocking it down. Interior, police station, back to present day. Nash puts down the phone.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Nash looks down at the newspapers with his mug plastered over them. He picks one up, looks at the print date, and then at the calendar on the wall.
These newspapers are 3 weeks old.
Quick on the uptake, I see.
So I've been out for 3 weeks?
No, you were wide awake for 2 of those weeks.
I don't remember any of that. I don't even remember getting here.
Yeah, maybe don't do drugs.
Don't be preposterous.
Quit drinking?
Well, now you're just being weird.
They both look at the newspaper. The sadness crosses Nash's face again, and Vault notices.
God, I went on a blackout bender and bought a town.
Yep.
Oh, this can't even be legal. You can't just hand over a whole town to a drugged out person.
Apparently you can. It said drugged out person has $1 million.
Million what? Nash is about to shit his pants.
I'm sorry, how much is this town worth?
Well, I never said worth, kid. The asking price was $1 million.
Nash just shat his pants.
Oh, sweet baby Jesus, a fucking $1 million? How? What the fuck, what, how?
Yep. So not only are you a druggie and a drunk, you're also stupid.
Vault tosses the paperwork to Nash.
But it can be a crazy surprise, right? And you had the money, seeing as that you're a big rock star and all.
Nash, dick firmly recoiled between his ass cheeks.
I must say, you have a great team looking out for you. Nothing but your best interests at heart, clearly.
Nash rifles through the paperwork.
Oh, my blood-sucking business manager. He signed off on this? How did I even reach him?
You disappeared for a day or two, came back with the papers all signed and money wired. Like I said, you surround yourself with some savvy business.
Yeah, I get it. How far is the nearest working phone?
Oh, the closest payphone is on the road to the town of Ludlow. A few hours north of here.
Can you take me there?
I'm gonna do a supply run in the next few days. You're welcome to join.
A few days? I don't have a few days. I need to get back to LA.
So go. Ain't nobody stopping you.
Well, my means of transportation's currently deceased, as you know.
Well, ain't that a bitch?
Vault pulls out the flask from his drawer and takes a swig.
Oh, my fans! They're gonna be so worried about me.
Vault slides the newspapers over to him.
Doubtful. You're no Johnny Cash.
Nash doesn't like that comment.
And you're the Kevin Costner Wyatt Earp, not the Kurt Russell Wyatt Earp.
Vault most definitely doesn't like that
Hand me one of those papers, would you?
Nash tosses him one and picks up the other two. Nash starts to flip through the first. Vault gets up from his seat and heads to the back of the station. Nash follows, reading.
Nash Rivers, lead singer of rock band River Phoenix, has been missing for over 48 hours. Last seen being escorted out of Chateau Marmont and later going face to face with his former label exec Lou Silvers at the Rainbow Room. It is said that Mr. Silvers dropped Rivers hours before the altercation occurred. The argument escalated to the point that a disgraced musician was physically tossed out of one of the most iconic music venues on the Strip.
Exterior Rainbow Room, flashback night. Nash sucker punches Lou Rivers, 50, music douche. Just as security grabs him, Lou backs up. He can taste the blood on his lip. That's it, Rivers, you're done. You're never working in this town again.
Suck my dick, Lou!
What dick, Rivers? From what I hear, it's the size of my pinky. At least that's what your ex-wife said last night. Nash escapes the grips of security and maniacally rushes towards Lou, body checking him into the bushes. Interior police station, back to present day. Nash tosses the newspaper to the floor.
Like I said, tabloids are misleading. Besides, they're old. Where's the latest paper?
These are the latest papers. Mail don't come to these parts. You know, we have to drive to a P.O. box a few hours out.
Well, what about your computer? Can I just check online?
And we have one computer here at the station. The other's over at Roy's Cafe. But they both are dial-up. Dial-up's connected to the phone line, so you're shit out of luck.
Walt swings open the bathroom door and leaves it open.
Speaking of shit.
Nash flips through the second newspaper and is too overwhelmed and self-absorbed to notice nor care about Walt.
I mean, these papers are making me out to be some washed-up loser. Nobody is coming to my defense.
Walt unbuckles his pants.
And then I end up here, wherever the fuck here is.
Walt takes a seat on the toilet. Nash frantically flips through the paper.
I mean, are we part of the California Gold Rush? Or perhaps are we just gonna go out and play a rousing game of cowboys and Indians?
Walt takes a shit. Nash, completely oblivious. Walt turns to grab toilet paper but realizes the roll is empty.
I mean, this is 2018. I live in Hollywood, for Christ's sake. Do you even know where that is?
Nash looks up to Walt, finally realizing he is balls deep shitting on the shitter. Walt rips the front cover of the newspaper, crumples Nash's face into a wad in white. Nash blinks a few times in silence, soaking this whole situation in until...
Okay, one, that's utterly disgusting. And two, I feel I may have deserved that.
Are you done being a little bitch?
You tricked me into buying this place, didn't you?
Now, why would I do that?
Because look around. There's nothing here.
Walt is losing his patience, still on the shitter.
This nothing is my home. I've lived here my whole darn life. My pops was a sheriff of Amboy, and my granddaddy before that.
And that's just pathetic, because look around, man. What crime could possibly happen out here? It's like you're playing lawman in a play town. Nothing here even seems real.
Walt nonchalantly pulls out his pistol, points it at Nash, and pulls the trigger. Bang! Nash stands frozen, somewhere in between withdrawal, shock, and fear. He slowly looks to his arm. Blood trickles down.
Seems pretty real to me.
This takes a second.
Did you just fucking shoot me?
Yep.
This takes an even longer second.
You fucking shot me? While you're taking a shit?
Just calm down. That bullet just grazed you. If I shot you, you wouldn't be standing there screaming like a banshee.
This is attempted murder. You tried to fucking kill me.
Walt stands, pulls his pants up, and flushes the toilet.
Now you're just being dramatic. Man up, would you?
He tosses Nash the remainders of the paper. Cut 2, interior medical day. Nash sits on the patient table while Luella bandages him up. And by bandage, we mean she is literally putting on a bandage. Opie sits quietly, still smiling, staring at Nash.
Attempted murder, Luella. He tried to kill me while taking a shit. That's some next level psychopathy savagery. Wait till I get back to LA. I'm gonna sue him and I'm gonna sue this whole fucking town.
Wouldn't that mean you're actually suing yourself?
Nash glares at Luella.
Seeing that you bought the town and all.
Yeah. Understood, Luella, thanks.
She places an extra band-aid on his arm just for good measure.
There, all done. I can give you something for the pain if you like.
Vicodin?
Luella shakes her head no.
Percocet? Oxy?
What? No. I was gonna say aspirin.
That's child's play. You'd have to give me a freaking horse tranquilizer at this point.
You know, buying Amboy ain't so bad. It could have been a lot worse. You could have been on bath salts and ate someone's face.
That's a little dark, Luella.
Yeah, I guess there's that.
Nash locks eyes with Opie, who perks up immediately over the attention.
And what's the big deal with Minnie Linda Blair?
Opie? What about her?
Was he a mute? Tongue cut out in the desert, some weird desert demon rituals?
Opie sticks out his tongue, proving he still has it. Nash genuinely smiles.
His parents left town when he was 4, leaving him here. Found him sitting in front of the TV when I went to pick him up for Sunday service. Hasn't spoken since.
Oh, you have a church in this town?
We do.
You should visit it.
Ugh, if I step foot into the holy place, I might very well burst into flames.
Maybe the Lord is what you need.
Nash jumps off the table.
Maybe. But the devil does that really cool thing with her tongue.
Nash turns to Opie.
Family abandonment, huh? Don't sweat it, kid. I'm the mayor of that town. Among others, apparently.
Nash gives Luella a big kiss on her cheek.
Well, thanks for stitching me up, Luella. As much as this day has been a clusterfuck of new information, I am going to get to that payphone, call my manager, and sell this town.
He makes his way to the door.
I have a feeling that's going to be tough.
Oh? Why is that?
Well, the town has been for sale for almost 10 years. We were going into foreclosure, that is until you came along.
Nash stands back, stunned.
Come again?
We're kind of the last...
Yeah, no shit. It's Westworld, but we're broke without any cool sci-fi shit.
I don't know what that means.
Never mind, just continue.
Right. So most of the folks moved on. The ones remaining have lived here their whole lives. Few moved here to have a more peaceful existence. But we don't have enough money and manpower to keep the town running. Originally, a salt mine in town, and a while back we thrived off of tourists. The gas station at Roy's Cafe is the only one for miles, but even that slowed down. So in a lot of ways, you've saved us.
Nash stares back at Luella's warm, kind face until...
Dear fucking God. I bought a ghost town.
End of selection.
You're sitting a long way away. Let's move on before Sharon.
Sorry,
Don't be
away.
Don't be
Someone
cheeky.
left their phone up here too.
There's no cell service anyway.
It's got a lovely oceanic.
Sarah. It's the sheriff's. Just before we start, thank you actors again for that. We are grateful and lucky.
I'm looking at the little things about. Well, first, it's really funny.
Thank you.
And it's really special. I could absolutely see immediately being hooked on this. Great character work. I mean, it's a really, it's a well done. You know, for me, movies are plot, TV are characters, and you got great characters. You got a really fun world ready to go. So my stuff was only about. And I'm assuming you know a lot more about where you believe it goes as a series, but I will now ask you some of the stupid questions and maybe give you some of the ideas that you get when you go, and the little people at the networks go, why do we like him? You know, it's that kind of stuff. I won't ask you why we like him, because I think he is clearly charming in his completely fucked up way. So my problem that I had, as far as what my problem was, is that I get at the end of this thing that he now owns a ghost town. But what I don't understand from anything I just saw is the circumstances under which he really can't get out. I mean, if he's a rock star, you've told us he's a rock star, he either still is or he's been way on the slide and he doesn't have what he had. But I get that there's no obvious phone, I get that, but you know, you can say, dude, when we get to LA, I'll sell you my fucking house, just drive me to LA, right, whatever it is. There's gotta be a way out. So what I needed was a reason he cannot leave.
Yeah.
Which is not, I can't get a ride and I can't make a phone call. To me, there has to be, if you leave, you're more fucked than if you stay.
Sure.
And is there one?
Yes, there
It's
is.
just not right
It's just
here in
not
the
there,
pilot.
yeah.
You may have to put, may I ask what it is?
Yeah, so he actually gets to the payphone and makes a phone call, after, and he finds out that he did get fucked over by everybody in his whole crew, and he's realizing that he talks to his bandmate and he's actually making more money. Everyone thinks he's dead, so that he's making more money.
More album sales and stuff?
Not being there. So everyone's like, don't fucking come back.
So stay
we're
dead.
actually making more money than we ever. So that's like the pilot of it. So then it gets further and further in, but he really it's the last $1 million that he has. So he really has nothing. And it's like assets. It's more than just here's $1 million. Like now he's already in the shitter to begin with. It's gotten worse now, and so he actually has no home. So he's there, and it's.
So he's better off dead.
I like everything you're saying. So here's an idea for what I think is eventually going to be your show is the town's going to change him and he's going to change the town.
Absolutely.
Okay. So what you've got, and I'm going to reference something that merely shows my age. I'm going to reference the movie To Sir With Love.
Oh, wow.
You know that movie? No. So, Sidney Poitier, who as a staunch heterosexual, I would have sex with Sidney Poitier. It takes place in London, and he's got all kinds of prospects for this great job opportunity, but he doesn't know if he's going to get it. So in the interim, he starts teaching delinquents at a London high school, and it's just to bide the time. He's not interested in them. He gets under their skin, he starts to change their lives, he starts to feel things he's never felt before about the power of what being able to mentor young people is all about. And by the time that job opportunity comes to him at the end of the movie, he rips up the application, and he's going to stay at this school. So what I thought was that you needed something where I totally get he can't leave. That's a great thing that you said. I think that's a great, that the band is making more money, but I want to make that, if I can, something that helps his real problem as opposed to solves his problem. And that is, if he wakes up and he spent $1 million, and that's really all he had left, and they say, you bought the town, and he goes, well, fuck the town. How do I, well, the only way is to get someone else to buy it, and it's a shithole, right? We know that because we spent 10 years trying to buy it. He goes, all right, well, it's $1 million. I'm just walking away. You guys are left on your own. They go, whoa. The price was $25 million. $1 million was your down payment. Your contract says you're giving us $1 million every year for the next 20, or every 6 months. And the only way that you get out of that is if somebody buys it. Well, now he can never make another penny anywhere that doesn't go right into the coffers of this town unless he makes this town something somebody would buy. Now you've got a reason, I think, to stay, and you can't get away from this. Because this guy runs from everything.
Yeah.
But now I'm just looking for the one thing that says, you run, you're screwed everywhere you go. Everywhere you go, you owe us more money than you will ever make every year in perpetuity. So now he goes, the only way I can do this is to get this stupid town back on its feet so that somebody will buy it. And now he has to stay. And you can add all that other stuff, man, about stay there, man. The band's making more money now than it's ever made when you were alive. Great, because that's money going in. But what a deal with the devil that is. It's saving my ass, but only because everybody hates me so much that now that I'm dead, they think this is great. You know what I mean? That was the only thing missing to me is what were the stakes that because I was just having a hard time. I'll accept it, but I'm having a hard time with this guy not believing that he just wouldn't go, fuck everything. I will do whatever I have to do to get out of here. This is not, but he can't get out because it's going to follow him wherever he goes. That was the only thing I needed to make the premise of your show go, I'm in. I'm totally in. And then you can eventually get, I had questions of why was for sale, what does it really need, what went wrong, what are the things that we might understand could be fixed. I'm going to pitch you a joke just because it's not a joke, I'll pitch you the premise for a joke. The only place I've ever heard the word buttercup is Princess Bride.
Of course,
and I thought
yes.
if there was some,
Yes.
if this guy is just crazy about the movie Princess Bride.
There's a plan to that,
Okay,
yes.
great, okay, all right. It was
Better than
just,
Tombstone.
it's
I was hoping
really,
something like
it's
that.
funny, it's one fun, honestly, the only part of it that was missing for me was to really make me, so that I do not question that he cannot leave. If he leaves, he's in worse trouble than if he stays.
And you're saying to address that in the pilot, like
Oh, yeah.
right off the
Only
bat,
because
like-
I believe, even when I was hearing it, this guy, who is this spoiled rock star, who still believes he has some kind of assets, would find a way to bribe somebody in this desperate place to get him back to civilization. I just didn't think he would be, not in this day and age. Somebody's got a vehicle, somebody can get a message out to the world, and someone would come grab his butt. So I just needed him to not be able to go, because it's going to be a worse situation. But that was it for me.
Me? I think you have room, because I think this script felt like you were answering questions that you were asking yourself. Like, okay, he's stuck in the town, what would he do first? He'd try and find a car. Okay, I need to come up with the bus that doesn't work. Okay, next he'd go to a telephone. Okay, I can fuck that. Now he's probably going to try the internet. How do I solve that? Like, I sort of felt like I could feel the wheels turning, and I feel that could be dealt with in like one page. What about a phone? That's fucked. You fucked it. What about the internet? We don't have it because it was connected to the phone. You fucked that. So what about the bus? It's that burning thing over in the corner. It's like, yeah, there you go. And there's a page, and yet you've dragged that out over 30 pages.
Yeah.
And so I kept feeling this was like setup after setup after setup, where I really wanted to get into how pathetic he was and moments of vulnerability for him, because he needs a moment where he's like human, so that we can be like, okay, he's fucked. Now he mentions it where he's like, I'm mayor of that town of like child abandonment. So you kind of get that sense, but it was like there's so much room there to sort of explore what we're going to be seeing in the show, rather than just us wandering around looking at ways why he can't get back.
Yeah.
So that's why it speaks to Jason's point. So that gives you a bunch more room. Then you can start to explore the relationship back in LA, and there might be a part of him that doesn't want to go back. I mean, you can start to dig into the pilot, right? And that all, we've said this before on this stage, and it was advice given to me, throw everything that you have into the pilot. Once you get the writer's room, you can deal with what happens next. Like, don't hold back. If you've got reasons, if you've got things that inform us, try and shove as much into the pilot as you can, because we need to get connected to this guy, and you have such a limited amount of real estate to connect us to why we want to watch and why we want to come back next week. So answer those questions. So don't hold back on he can't leave the town. That absolutely has to be in the pilot. By the end of the pilot, we all have watched this show and be like, okay, we know who the central character is, we know the tone, we know what the world is. We know what we're strapping in for, and then each week it's going to be who he's butting heads with and who he's sort of not butting. I mean, we know it all. And right now, that focus has been on just explaining why he's stuck.
Right.
So you could move it a bunch, and that would be the same. Then you can sort of really beat up all the jokes and have it kind of move at a pace that is sort of really, because I know you're funny, and obviously you are. So.
Yeah, and I think a little bit more is explained after, but I also think that just means my pilot's too long.
Right,
But it's like
right,
there's a
because
whole
it's got to be a
time
30-minute show. I mean,
Sure,
this screams 30-minute show to me.
Yes.
So, and you're already at 30 pages, and all we know so far is that the internet and the bus, and we know logistics. We don't know a whole bunch about anything else. And I would like to see, especially if you've already thought it out, which you have, it would be really cool to kind of bring that in a lot quicker. So that was my principle. As reading, it just felt like a lot of setups, you know what I mean? A lot of explanation of this is this and this is this. It's like, no, fucking do that quickly and then get into the next layer of stuff.
You've also got one other element which isn't in the pilot yet, and could be, and that is if this guy has been a rock star for as long as he can remember, with that lifestyle and those choices and that way of thinking, and now he's in bumfuck, and so you've got a fish out of water. The way he solves problems makes no sense to these people. And the way they solve problems makes no sense to him. So that communication, you don't have a moment where he tries to help anybody in this thing.
Yeah.
You don't have a moment where anybody gives him some actual advice that he goes, well, that's not a thing. You know what I mean? So I get that Luella is probably going to be a romantic interest. I get that.
Jaybird.
No, Jaybird.
Oh, is it her?
The daughter.
I
bartender.
thought it was going to be the nurse caretaker with the kid.
Oh.
Well, she's.
She seems so sweet.
She's there, but yeah, So Luella.
I was looking at the actress. Going, that could be.
So Jaybird is the daughter, but yeah. So I mean, it could go 1,000 different ways. But yes, Jaybird is the sheriff's.
He'd ruin Luella. He'd ruin it.
Well, if that's the truth, she's underrepresented in the pilot.
Well, so that's the point of it being longer. That there's so much more that comes after the fact that they have their moment.
Yeah.
So
and Tim's comment is really strong. That you could broom a lot of stuff down to a page or two.
Yeah.
And give us more of one of the questions that always comes up is, who am I supposed to care about other than him in this thing? And the sheriff is really funny, but I didn't know who else was going to score points and really be what the show was about. I did not know it was going to be Jacob. And so you want to plant that seed a little deeper if you can. You're in great shape. I mean, this is all doable. It's really doable.
I would
thought out the world beautifully.
I would vote for no flashbacks too. I just want to throw that out there. I just thought that he's such a cliche when we see him. Every one of the flashbacks confirms the cliche. There's nothing in any of the flashbacks that changes or adds to. If we see a drunken tattooed rock star screaming, "I'm a god" in the desert, we get him pretty quickly, like pretty much. And there's zero in the flashbacks that doesn't do anything other than confirm what we already know about him. Because if you ask, again, everybody in this room, when you see that image, it's like, do you imagine him doing coke and trashing a hotel room and torching a bus and fighting with his manager and fucking a bunch of people and running around drunk? And we would be all like, yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, right? I'm not wrong, right?
Yeah,
right. So you did a great job of establishing him in the first page. So I mean that as a compliment. You don't need to back it up with, no, he's really rowdy. And only to pursue one joke where he keeps saying, oh no, that couldn't be me. Which is fine, but I think you're better served having less space and putting in something we haven't seen. Because then it becomes like a really... I just think he has great potential to appear totally cliche and then shift in some way in the pilot. Where we're like, wait, he's not just a complete loss. There's something about you. He's going to teach these kids and not take the job in London. So yeah, that's the To Sir With Love reference, everyone. So yeah. There it is. Like there's sort of an officer and a gentleman, I've got no place else to go kind of moment. There's the, I really, I don't want to go back to LA kind of moment. I mean, there are so many moments you can throw in there which give him more than we expect. Anyway, I'm crapping on, you get the point. Yes?
I know it's hard.
So I'm just like, I don't see that.
You can watch the video and
Yeah.
get it on.
That doesn't
I know. Yes, Naomi.
I agree with every comment. I think it's really brilliantly funny and well written. I think that most of it is operating on this intellectual level that I know why, like you guys are talking about, I know why he sort of needs to stay, though it needs to be a little more plausible. But I think it's on the emotional level, I want to see most of the pilots spend time, each relationship with each of those characters that's going to be recurring, like why did they need each other? What did they need to learn from each other? And because I look at it like if you're setting up a series, you want to know why they're stuck with each other and what they need to learn from each other essentially. And I don't feel like you should wait till the next episode, for example, for us to get into that core stuff. Because you've established so quickly how smart and funny this is, but then it's sort of it feels like an intellectual thing rather than like an emotional.
Yep, fair enough. All right. Ella.
Congratulations. I am so excited. I can't wait to see this on screen.
Me too!
I'm willing you this.
Jason's going to play the rocker too.
It's
like,
I think stick my hand up to be the Ruth Ann. This show, I think it was Ruth Ann. This reminds me very much of a show you're probably too young to remember called Northern Exposure.
I definitely know Northern Exposure. Yes.
And there was the Ed Chidiac
Yep,
and
very
Dr.
much.
Flashman couldn't go back because
It's true. He had to do his 3 years.
That's what was paying his
Yeah.
medical fees, and then there was the plane, and she was wacky. But I'm not saying it's been done before. I'm just saying when that show landed, it was the same time as oh God, what's his name with Gillian and X-Files.
X-Files.
Yeah.
And it was so quirky and so unique. And I think that with what George and Tim have
George.
said.
That's never happened before.
I wish I could tell you you're the first or the last.
Tim by his father's name now.
Sure.
But with what they've said, I I'm just very excited. So
Thank you
congratulations.
very much.
Beautifully written.
Thank you.
All right, at the back.
I think there's a great opportunity you have to have us as the audience know things about him through the other characters or whatever that story is that he doesn't know. So all that stuff is like flashback stuff, which I really don't need. What could be really interesting is if we as the audience know, oh, there's all this stuff this guy's been up to in the last few weeks. He doesn't know what he's done yet, right? And it's the town trying to figure out, all right, we gotta keep him here. He's bought this thing, but he doesn't know. And then you have this one. Then you can really propel me into your next episode, right? Where if you reveal to me at the end, like, well, the reason why he's screwed is he's bought this ghost town. But throughout the whole episode, he's trying to piece together, wait a minute, why am I here for 2 weeks? How did I get here? And we're finding that out, but he doesn't. And I think there's a wonderful opportunity there to play with that, where the audience knows more than he does throughout that whole time.
All right, we have time for one more, and then we have to do the quick Q&A. Anybody? Say.
I just want to say something that I really loved that, like they were saying, did kind of twist the expectation of seeing the drunk rocker stumbling through the desert was because I love that the sheriff and him go head to head, the sheriff and Ash. They always sort of one up each other, and the sheriff has stuff over him obviously, but they were kind of on the same level. But for me, the biggest foil for Nash was Opie. And I loved that. And that to me was something that was really new and different in terms of the take on that character. And when he mentions like the thing about being abandoned by his parents and that connection, that was something that I was really craving more of, because that to me was the emotional in. And the really new thing of like, this kid is going to take down this guy who literally said he's a god. And this 8-year-old is just going to trash him. So I really love that. Cool.
All right, very good. Sabrina, do you have anything you want to ask, add, share?
Yeah, you guys answered a lot of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Are you feeling good?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. No, good. Yes.
Okay. All right, Sabrina, everyone. Sabrina Braza. All right. Are you ready for a quick chat?
Sure.
Thank you, by the way. Thank you so much for coming. Have you had fun?
I did. Good stuff, you guys.
Yeah.
Really lovely.
So what I normally do with the insiders is my first question is, what was your path in? What was your, how did you break in?
Accident.
Okay.
Accident. When I was 12, I moved from one town to another in New Jersey, and the first kids that picked me up were the theater kids. I'd never acted. And I loved it. I loved it mostly because of the community of the theater. Just, you know, everybody's your best friend at the first rehearsal. And growing up in New Jersey, I would go with these kids every weekend into New York, and we'd see Broadway stuff left and right. And I got it into my head that I wanted to be an actor, so I started doing everything I could do. I started doing all the school shows, community theater, children's theater, and I was with a group called Pushcart Players in New Jersey, and they did little original children's musicals that we would take to schools. And we went to this one school, and you know, parents and kids would be in the audience. One of the dads had produced some television stuff, and he thought that these little original musicals might be a good children's series. So he ponied up the money, and he shot basically a 30-minute proof of concept pilot. And all of us little New Jersey actors suddenly had to join SAG. Well, it was just after at the time, but we joined after. And so I had my union card at 14. And he couldn't sell it as a series, but he got it on like the local CBS affiliate at like 7 in the morning on a Sunday morning or something like that. And it was seen by a management company that handled kids and teens. And they hunted me down and said, we loved you on the thing. We'd love to handle you. And I went, okay. And they started my career. They started sending me out, and I started doing commercials. And I didn't do, professionally, I didn't do anything other than commercials until I got into college as a theater major. And then I never graduated college because I started working much more full-time in Broadway. And I never thought about film or television. I thought I was going to be a Broadway theater actor. That was my big thing. And that's what I was all through the 80s. I basically worked in the New York theater and commercials and a little TV thing or a little film thing here and there. And then all hell broke loose. So.
Did you, were you working on it? I mean, were you taking acting lessons or classes?
I wasn't taking
or
acting when
how?
I was a kid. The minute I said I really wanted to do this, I started studying singing. And I knew if I was going to be in the theater as a singer, I had to dance. And so I mean, I know I'm an Adonis now, but I was an unbeliever. I cannot even begin to tell you how unattractive a child I was. And so I was taking tap classes
just for the chicks.
5 towns over, because I thought, well, tap had a little bit of masculinity in it, because, I mean, Gene Kelly could tap. You know, that was my... so I was doing that kind of training, but I never had an acting class until I got to college and discovered that there was actual craft to it all.
How did that go? I know we'll get to later stuff, but how did that go, learning, like you'd made it a certain way, and was there a moment where you're like, oh, if I'm going to make it further, I really do need to like study this or work on this or get better at this? Or was there, I mean, when you got to college, did you have like a moment, or was it just like a...
I had a lot of moments in college. I mean, but what was amazing to me was that there actually was craft to acting, because I thought acting was, who would I cast in the part and then just imitate them? That was my idea of how you approach a role. Acting, I'm sure many of you here have studied it. It is not math and science, so it is as good as the person that is trying to teach it to you, and as good as the technique. And I finished college and went on a teacher hunt for years until I bumped into my guru, who I then studied with for 14 years. So I didn't like own it overnight. It didn't just go, aha, now I know. But the biggest revelation for me in college was I did not think of myself as a comic actor or particularly funny. And
so far, I agree with you.
Right?
Yeah.
And I had a wonderful professor my sophomore year, a guy named Jim Spruill, African-American guy who had grown up doing street theater in the 60s, you know, to change the world kind of thing. He was the real deal. I mean, he's just, you know, no-nonsense guy. And he called me into his office, and I will try and imitate. He had this big basso voice, and he said, I know your heart and soul is Hamlet, and you would be a profound Hamlet. You will never play Hamlet. So you best get good at Falstaff. And I, like, my head exploded, and I went, what, you know, because I couldn't see what he could see. When I was a sophomore in college, I was 25 pounds overweight. I'm 5'5" now. I was maybe 5'6" then. Already a nice bald thing happening up top. And, you know, there was no way that I was going to be the great dramatic actor if I wanted a commercially successful career. So he kind of pointed me down the path of taking comedy seriously. And then I started really watching and studying funny people to try and figure out why they were funny, and then steal everything I could to try and find my own path into that.
Which is cool. So then, well, not the stealing part, but part of the thing what we do here is that we occupy the space of the work rather than the how do I get famous. Mm-hmm. Because as you know, with actors and with writers, there's a lot of like, I've written a script. I'm only getting held back by a manager or an agent. You know, if only they could see my genius. It's like, no, you've got to get, you got to get good.
Right.
So, okay, so you've done all that. Explain, what did it feel like when the world exploded? What was that like?
Well, it exploded. Here was the real explosion. It's not what you think it was. It was not necessarily Seinfeld, but
I was assuming it was Pretty Woman.
Well, that was closer. That was the first thing after the explosion began. But my reaction to the actual explosion was what was so interesting to me at the time, and to my therapist of now 15 years. So I really did have this intense fantasy that I would somehow make it to be a Broadway actor if I was lucky as an adult. I made my Broadway debut when I was 19, and with Stephen Sondheim and Hal Prince, and I went, what? Okay, well, maybe if I'm lucky enough to keep doing shows, one day maybe I'll be nominated for a Tony, and maybe when I'm like 60, they'll give me one just for hanging in there long enough. I won the Tony Award when I was 29 years old. And that was the explosion, because that was the thing that began to change my career. But when I talk about it to young actors, you know, I always say, you know, you have this fantasy that when this thing happens, you will be or you will feel, or the, you know. And it was a wonderful night. I mean, I won that award, and it was a wonderful night. And I went home with my wife, and I had, you know, 15 messages on my machine. Good messages, not 100, 15. And I felt good, but I didn't feel like I had become somebody else. And one of my favorite shows is the musical Pippin. It's one of the reasons I became an actor. And there's a line, because he's, in the plot of Pippin, he's trying all these different things in life to find his purpose. And after he goes through the section where he's a soldier, the player that's leading him through these things said, "What do you think?" And he had a line, which is, "I thought there'd be more plumes." And I got in bed with my wife the night I won the Tony, and she goes, "How do you feel?" And I said, "I thought there'd be more plumes." And so the notion that there is no there, that the destination is not ever the fantasy, that the journey is everything, began when I was 29. Now, granted, the minute I won that Tony, and I don't know why the dams burst, it was just a series of fortunate events, but quickly in succession was Pretty Woman and the pilot of Seinfeld. Seinfeld changed the reality of my life, but it didn't happen. We did the pilot and it was not picked up. It was dropped. And the only reason it had any life is back then, when there was only 4 channels, major channels, the networks would burn off their dead pilots by airing them at night, during the summer usually. And they did, and one of the critics, I think for TV Guide, went, "What was that? That was really interesting." And he was the only one, but he, and so NBC, mostly because they wanted a relationship with Jerry Seinfeld, kept kind of putting their finger back, or dipping a toe back in the water, and slowly over 2.5 seasons, it morphed into this thing that became Seinfeld. But those first 2.5 years, Jerry once described us as the world's biggest garage band. It's just 4 idiots in the garage going bang, 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 and the neighborhood's going, you know, these guys aren't bad. You know, so it was not like Friends, where Friends on their opening show came out and they were a, you know, out of the park home run on day one. Ours came very slowly, and I think because of I thought there'd be more plumes, I never invested in celebrity. I never invested in the fantasy of what this life is if you're suddenly in the spotlight. So, you know, it changed my world. It opened a lot of doors. It made my children's lives very, very happy and comfortable, and I am eternally grateful. But it is, and listen, the celebrity that I've had, it's lovely. It's never, you know, I don't have crazy people, and I don't have guys coming up to me in bars going, "Hey, you think you're so fucking tough?" You know, the action heroes have it tough. Leading men, women, attractive women, tough, right? You get the fandom can be a strange thing. I tend to get mothers of girls I would have dated in my 20s.
How did it go going from theater to doing that kind of TV too? Was that a transition?
Seinfeld was more or less theater. You know, it was 4-camera live audience. There was a learning curve to it because the audience, the live audience, began about where you guys are. So there was this big gulf, and as a theater actor, I kept thinking, I have to play to you, and the camera's right here. So, you know, so I had to. It took me, you know, a good season or 2 to figure out how to include them and be a TV actor. But other than that, there was, you know, when I teach, what I've learned and when I teach actors, I always talk about, there are so many classes that talk about technique, Shakespeare technique, commercial technique, voiceover technique, musical technique, you know, technique. And I go, please take the word technique and throw it away from all those things and just change it to technicalities. Because technique, the way an actor prepares and sustains a role or a performance, you find your way, and that's what it is. You find your methodology, and it doesn't matter if you're this close, or if you're recording a camera, or if I'm singing it, or if it's in spoken, it doesn't matter. Those are just technicalities. The technique stays the same. So by the time I came around to Seinfeld, my technique was in pretty good shape, so the transitions to the mediums didn't really shatter it.
So I have one more question about acting, and then I want to talk about other things you've done quickly. What do you, sitting here now, think is what's the role you're most proud of? When you think about it.
There would be two. George, for sure, primarily because of how long it sustained and how successful that run was of doing those things. And what I'm proudest of about George is you forget when you're watching a series, all the stuff that we know at the end of the series, we did not know at the beginning. So I love when people go, my parents showed up in season 4. And they go, oh, the minute I saw your parents, I knew how you based that whole performance. And I went, they weren't even on the radar,
right.
When I was trying to create.
Right.
So the fact that I can look back at Seinfeld and see George develop in a way that makes sense, that has consistency, that grew from year to year, and how he has affected people in the world, and that it still has some resonance, that it's hard not to be very proud of that. The role that scared me to death for a variety of reasons, and I was very proud of the result, was the movie of Love, Valor, Compassion. And it scared me because A, it's not primarily a comedy, and I hadn't done a dramatic role for a while, and the entire rest of the company of the film had done it on Broadway for more than a year. And I thought, there's no way I can catch up with what they know in their bones about this material.
Right.
And what I didn't anticipate was that the play was 3 hours. The movie was 90 minutes. So they lost so much material with which they had invested communicating their performances. So we all started from scratch. And they were just the most gracious, beautiful company of gentlemen. It was hard. It was very exposed, a lot of nudity. I was concerned not about playing a flamboyant gay man, but about how the gay community would react to a straight actor playing a flamboyant gay man. And the whole experience just was really, really extraordinary, lovely. And it had some challenges to the performance that, when I look back, I go, good for you. That was good.
So you have dabbled in writing.
Yep.
What was that like? Did you have any basis of, how did you get to this?
I've been writing since I was in junior high school,
Okay.
Working on little reviews and doing dramatic writing and whatnot. And even, I was an advanced English student, and I did a lot of writing, and I have the gift of the Blarney, I think, on paper too. I wrote the book for the musical that I won the Tony for, but don't be too impressed by that because it was a review and it wasn't like, heavy-duty writing. But I've done that. I wound up being the showrunner on my last series and doing a good bit of writing on that. I've written a lot of comedy material. I've written a lot of musical material. I'm not, so I enjoy collaboration. And the reason I became an actor is because I loved working with other people. I was never a stand-up comic, A, because I didn't think it was funny, but B, because they work alone. And nothing worse, I've done stand-up comedy now, nothing worse than being backstage at 10 minutes going, okay, rock and roll. Writing is also, not really a communal experience unless you're in a writer's room, and then it becomes a communal experience. And the horrible thing is that I haven't found many people. I have this very strange ego. So when I do write, I get very invested in what I'm doing, and I'm not the world's easiest collaborator, I have found. So it's hard for me to work with a partner. Just ask my wife. She was my first collaborator. The marriage survived.
All right, well done.
The
Well done.
collaboration did not.
Yeah. I think you made the right choice.
Yeah. So I really admire writers and the discipline of writing. And I think the whole world, I was saying to somebody, maybe Sabrina, the whole world becomes brilliant once the first draft is done. It's like, oh, I see what you've done. Yeah, I think the town needs to do this. And yeah, you want to start your first act with the second act. And yeah, brilliant. We're all fucking geniuses until there's a great story. I don't know if it's anecdotal. I don't know. And I even asked William Goldman if it was true, and he said it sounds familiar. So there was a great story. There was a controversy about less than 10 years ago between the Writers Guild and the Directors Guild over the credit a film by.
Yeah.
And the directors felt that the director, the auteur, should have it, and the writers were saying,
fuck no.
Right. And there is a great story about how there was a meeting of the two unions to discuss this, and the representative for the Directors Guild was Steven Spielberg, and the representative for the Writers Guild was William Goldman. And Spielberg got up and he said, half the time I discover the source material, I marry it to the writer of my choice. I guide that writing process. I cast the film. I design every shot. I am the head of every department, even though every department has a head. I sit in charge of editing. I sit in charge of scoring. Every frame of this film has my imprint on it. How the hell is it not a film by me? And the story goes that William Goldman came up on the dais with 120 blank pages, threw it in front of Spielberg and went, direct that.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. All right, on that, I have to hand it over to questions because we have to get out of here. Anybody have any questions for Jason/George, apparently?
Or just Slash.
Just Slash?
Yes.
Did you learn, since you were a writer before Seinfeld, did you learn from Larry while you were on the show? Did you see his process, and did that kind of inspire you to change the way you thought about writing while you were doing Seinfeld?
I didn't really see Larry's process. I mean, I know some of how Larry works. Larry has notebooks full of names, incidents, passing thoughts that, his genius is he lays them all out and goes, oh, if I take that and put it with that, that's funny, Not through Larry's process. What I learned from watching those guys was they were militantly uncompromising about their vision. So when Seinfeld came on the air, literally, it was not, we were not ahead, we were hanging by fingernails. And about 6 or 7 episodes in, we table read the episode called The Chinese Restaurant, in which nothing happens. I mean, there is no plot. It's Jerry, George, and Elaine waiting for a table at a Chinese restaurant. They talk about stuff, they do some things, but nothing, there's no story. And we read it at the table, and I remember Warren Littlefield, bless his heart, was running NBC, and he just went, now normally a network will never talk while the cast is sitting there, that's for behind closed doors, but he was so stunned by what he had just heard that he started talking, he went, why would you do this? There's no plot, there's no characters, there's no story, nothing happens. Why would you, you have no audience. Why do you make it harder to support you? Why? And in sort of that headspace, they left. Now, any reasonable person would have gone, well, we should probably rethink this because they don't like it. But Larry David is not that person. So Larry went, well, they didn't say we can't do it. And we did. And that was the first time, honestly, where I remember thinking, this show may not last. But I have never seen two guys, that wasn't the important thing for them. They had voices, they had craft, they had integrity, and they could only do the show that they could do. They weren't going to do someone else's show. They were going to write what they knew and what they believed in and either soar or sink on their own petard. And I was so suddenly proud to be a part of that effort. So I did learn that about writers, which is why I try to be careful, because what I think is right and wrong doesn't mean crap. It's what you can execute and what does the audience respond to. And I've been wrong more often than I've been right.
It is, though, if I may.
Yeah.
It is a challenge, though, with writers on the way, learning the craft, that how much do I trust my voice and my vision? Because, I'm reading a lot of scripts that are not great. Let's be kind. And sometimes I write feedback to a lot of them, and sometimes I'll give feedback, and I get this sort of response, which is very clear that they're very stuck on their vision.
Absolutely.
And their vision is a disaster. So it's that. How do you find that? Do you know what I'm saying? That middle space. Like, I'm sticking to my guns, but what happens if your guns are like bad?
Well, here's the thing. So there's two roles that I can play in a writer's life. If I'm gonna hire you or buy your thing, you're serving me. So I say to the writer, this is what I need. This is what I believe in. You're now serving me. And if you don't want to do that, in this town, they go, thank you, I bought your project, I'll bring in the guy that can do it. It's not nice, but it's common. But more often than not, I'm in a position with writers where I'm about to start rehearsals. I'm directing a new play at the Pasadena Playhouse, and I talked to the writer and I said, in 50 words or less, tell me what you think your play is about. Don't tell me what happens in the play.
Right.
Tell me what it's about. And then in 50 words or less, they try and get to that. And what I then am able to do is say, I get that. And you can strengthen it by this or that, or this is getting in the way, or I didn't get that. You may think that's what you wrote, but I didn't get that. I got this. Now, you can write what I got, or you can write what you think you want to do, but something's got to give. So I just become a mirror. I go, you do what you want to do, but here's what we're getting. And often that, I find, is really helpful to the process that you're talking about. Someone sends you a script and you give notes back. You're basically saying, the only thing that you can't do, because they're not with you at the time, is I would start by going, what do you think you did here? What do you think this is? And then if I can articulate what is that and what isn't that, that tends to be the most helpful to a writer.
Yeah, what is this about? Is I use that a lot.
Yeah.
Because people, and also the other thing I do is emotional connection, because people get really obsessed with moving their characters around but not letting us in on what they're feeling and who they are as people, all that kind of stuff. That's what we do. Anyway, you guys heard that. I'm going to be here next time. Jason won't be. Do we have one more question? Anyone? One down here. Yes, okay. Go for it.
Keys for longevity as an actor.
Those keys are not in our hands.
That's right.
Neither is celebrity. I was speaking at some point and they said, what's your feeling about celebrity? I go, it's a gift that only other people can give you. And they can take it away. And it can be like a really bad tie. There are days where you go, I don't mind wearing this bad tie. And there are days where you go, don't make me wear the tie. But you don't have a choice. So longevity. Longevity is based on the desire of the audience to see more of you. They're intrigued by you. Very few artists of any kind, musicians, comics, actors, dancers, you name it, anybody in the arts, painters, writers, whoever it may be. There are very few careers that span their lifetime. They tend to hit a peak and they speak to a zeitgeist, and then it's Shakespeare said it, where shadows that strut and fret are hour upon the stage. The arts are always looking for the next voice, the next vision, the new thing, the twinkly light that you haven't seen before. It's very hard for an individual artist to keep being that life, especially if we're not fully creating the thing we have to do. So I've done lots of sitcoms after Seinfeld. They were kind of junky. They didn't catch. It wasn't that my ability went away, and I will even go so far as to say it wasn't that my likability went away. It's that this thing that I was a packaged part of just was either out of the zeitgeist or it just didn't catch fire. That's the thing that's not in our control. And now I'll flip that around. Artists have more longevity than anybody else in the world because there is no reason we can't do what we love to do every moment, every day of our lives. The question is, can we be compensated for it? Very few of us get to ever be compensated for it. So I always say to students, if you're in this to be famous or rich, please God go to law school. or engineering or computer technologies, because the path to celebrity, fame, fortune, and success in the arts is almost a surefire miss. The number of people in our actor union, and that's just in the union. Let's think of all the people that are not in the unions. But the number of people just in our unions, at any given moment, the percentage that are working is less than 10%. The percentage that makes above what is considered a bottom line poverty level income just from their work as artists is half of 1% of the entire union. So, you know, people are out there going, hey, I made $20,000 this year as an actor. Well, good luck living in LA. What do you do for a living? You know, the reality of impact and importance, it has to be separate from how you assess how good you are, what your talent is, what your value is. You have to be valuable to yourself. You have to be valuable to your audience, whether your audience is 3 people or 3 million people. And we're not in charge. My career is nowhere near what it was 10 years ago. It's not because I got worse. If anything, I probably got a little better. But careers do that. You know, I keep saying to my wife, I'll be 60 in a year, and I go, Act 3.
Yeah.
Either I'm invited to somebody's party, or I go teach and I make pottery on the potter's wheel, and I go, thank you very much. It was a great life. You can't be worried about that. The only thing you have in your control is to become the best artist you can be and improve on that every day. I used to say to college students, because I would give them an hour to ask me questions, and I'd say, I told you could ask me anything, and all your questions were about how to be successful, and none of them were about how to be good. And the only thing I know absolutely that will guarantee you success is if you're better than everybody else. That's it. So just be good. Get better and better and better, undeniably better, and go out and do it all the time. Do it in the park. Do it on a street corner. Do it on the 3rd Street Promenade. Do it in theaters like this. Do it in groups where you just get up and read material. Do it. Short films. Put them on the internet. All the stuff that you have to do to just say, I'm here, I exist, I have value, I am a conduit for artistic material. Just do it. No one can ever stop you anymore, amazingly, from being an artist every day of your life. They just don't necessarily pay you.
Do you have a role? Do you have a role that you want still? Is there something out there?
If I could snap my fingers and have the career I wanted, I would probably not be acting much anymore. I'd be directing.
Stage, film, TV,
matter.
all of it?
Doesn't matter.
Any of it?
I mean, I understand stage best, but the one part that I always wanted to get my little hands on, and I don't know if I was ever right for it as far as, it may be another Hamlet for me, but was Sweeney Todd. Because I see things in that character that no actor that I'm aware of has thought about or brought to the performance, and I think they're exciting things. So I always wanted to get my little voice wrapped around that role.
Oh, well.
But Sweeney has a 17-year-old daughter. If you do the math, I'm about 5 lifetimes too old to play Sweeney Todd.
No.
Well, I mean, look at Hamilton. You know, they did a crazy casting.
Yes. Yes,
We're in
they
a new
did.
era. All right, we have to go. Please thank Jason Alexander. And thank you all for coming. It's been great. Our new competition is open now. Our next reading is in October. I don't know who's going to be sitting in this chair, but it'll be someone less awesome than Jason, I'm sure. So thank you so much, and we'll see you in October.